Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Mortdog's 4v4 Madness, the grand finals. That's right. We are here. We are ready to see some amazing TFT. We have two teams of 4 players ready to duke it out. I am psyched to see how this goes down. How do you feel, Mort?
I'm feeling good. It's been nice to see, 32 teams down to the top 2. We've got some really high competition going on here. So yeah, I'm excited to see how this plays out and see what we see here. So yeah.
Yeah, well, another exciting part about today is that this is the first TFT tournament that I can recall where the fans out there have a chance to directly contribute to the prize pool, and you can do that by typing !prize pool. Our great sponsor Matcherino is helping facilitate all this kind of stuff. We've got some money in there already, 4,000 for first, 1,000 for second, but if you want to contribute to it, any donations you put into that Matcherino link, 70% of that goes to the prize pool, which is pretty awesome. So cool to see the community out there supporting TFT esports and anything we can do to make it easier for these players to play more, get even better, show us even better games is legit. That's a good thing.
Yeah, and I think both teams have got to be happy they've made it this far. They both made it to the prize pool, so they're both going to walk away with some money today. So that's got to feel really good.
That's right. And they had a long journey to get here, too. As you can see, 32 teams began on October 1st. That was last Thursday. Trimmed it down to 8 teams in day 2, 4 teams in day 3, which is the first day we casted yesterday. That was a really exciting series of games. They played a double round robin against each other. And then out of that, 2 teams survived to get to the grand finals. And let's take a look at our scoreboard from yesterday, actually, to kind of see how that all broke down in the end. There it is. And so there was a bit of a gap between Sunny Spring Retirement Home and Agon.gg, and then Washed and Hands Up a little bit below. I mean, it takes a lot of skill and teamwork and communication to get this far to begin with, but we definitely had a top 2 teams by the end of the day yesterday, didn't we?
Yeah, I mean, you saw game 1 there. Like both Agon and Sunnyside Retirement Home came out swinging. Agon got the 1, 2, 3, 4. In fact, so and the other 2 teams just never really recovered from that deficit. So it just shows how important it is to play well every game and how dominant you can be if everything goes your way.
Right. And there's so many new skills, I feel like, that come into it in a team environment. There's a lot of communication and thinking in different ways than you'd normally have to think in TFT. But these are the rosters that made it to our grand finals. Sunny Springs Retirement Home. I love that name. Not because I'm old. I just like the name. All right. Khroen, AceofSpaces, Tabzz, Sunny Lou on that roster. And then Agon.gg. A link in there, getting a little bit advertising in with this team. I hope Agon is giving a little bit more to Souless, Kiting, and Grand Vice after all this, depending on how things shake out. But we were talking about this before the show and a little bit yesterday too. Like, I look at these 8 players and I'm like, this would just be a great top 8 in any TFT tournament. So to see them on teams kind of teaming up, it's kind of like in the anime where all the powerful characters team up that would normally be fighting to fight each other. It's like Civil War and the Avengers. It's like that level. It's awesome.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of really skilled players that have made it to the finals today. Agon, who won the last Mortdog Madness tournament. Khroen, who just generally shows up and does very well in tournaments, usually making it to the finals. Kiting, Souless, GV8, all really good players. As well as on the EU side, Sunny has proven to be very good for a long time. Ace is doing really good on ladder. And Tabzz has also been a ladder warrior for a long time. So yeah, really good players overall, and I'm kind of excited to see how they play it out today.
Yeah, and what I've noticed too is that this group of players, they all generally have pretty good attitudes too. When you talk to them, they generally trend more towards the positive side in general. But I feel like that plays into it a lot too, because you can't let your ego get in the way. You can't let someone else's bad play bring down the whole team. So you need to kind of have that positive team mentality too, I think, to make it this far, which is kind of interesting because you don't usually need that in TFT.
Yeah, I've been watching a lot of their games, and I will say a couple of them, like Agon, actually can get a little tilted. But as long as they can keep that in check, usually they can do pretty well. So,
well, we'll find out. We're going to start off with Agon himself, the avatar, if you will, I guess, of Agon.gg. And starting things out, we will see what chosens emerge, I suppose. Finds the chain vest. So in your opinion, Mort, what do you think what's your item tier list right now for that first carousel?
So for me, I think Chain Vest is still the top. It gives you the option of that early Sunfire, which can give you the win streak. You can also go Bramble, which is very strong. And then you can also just build the GA, which is good pretty much universally on any build. So I think Chain Vest is really good. I think any offensive item can generally be pretty good as well. Sword, Rod, And then Tier can also be really good and open up some builds. Even Cloak is actually in a decent spot. I think right now Belt is actually one of the hardest to get going early game, but you do get that high roll where if you pick up the Belt and then hit the Cloak or the armor, you can hit the Sunfire. So a lot of options there.
Yeah, it's been cool how it seems like no matter what item you end up with, it's generally going to be useful in some sort of way. And it's been great. I've been doing a lot of tier starts lately because I've been trying out the Kindred build, been trying out the Vhagar build, and a lot of those builds need 2-3 tiers sometimes. And tier's pretty uncontested right now in Carousel too. So it's fairly easy to grab. I don't think it's going to stay that way, but wow, look at all that money that Agon's gotten
Ooh.
early on. That's got to feel good. 1-4 with 10 gold already, man.
Yeah, getting the gold that early definitely means he's going to be going for an econ strat. He means he probably won't get an item here. Interestingly enough, that means he might get more gold. So yeah, this is going to be an interesting like lost streak. What do you play this in? But he should be very rich this game. So hopefully we see that converted into a really strong late game comp.
Yeah, and there's a couple different ways to approach that now. We were seeing a lot of compositions yesterday in the tournament on the ladder and things like that really focus on level 7 as the place to find what you really need to reach that late game place. But we've also seen some players, especially with compositions like Duelist, go safer to like a level 9. You know, you kind of need to win streak a little bit and need to play a pretty strong board to do that. But there is sort of like a division right now where it's not only aggression and it's not only hyper econ anymore. You're seeing players take different routes at this point.
Yeah, even Agon here has a really tough decision. He could hypothetically sell everything on his bench and be at 20 gold. And
Yeah.
20 gold at 2-1 is just a lot of economy. That's going to build up you a lot of gold. And there you go.
He's doing
See?
it.
And yep. So this is going to be a lot of gold. And we saw last set, Agon was really good at this strategy of like riding 8th place and leveling up. So this is almost like, I think where Agon's going to be really comfortable playing this.
Yeah, classic Agon. And he's not getting distracted by any chosens popping up in his shops or anything like that. He's like, no, I'm not going to spend the money even if I see it. I'm just going to get some gold. And that can work out well. I do worry a little bit about that strategy in set 4, since even though you may not be picking up chosens, other people are. And so I feel like you tend to lose fights harder if you're lost streaking the traditional way
Yeah.
now than you did before. So I feel like there's a little bit of an element of extra danger that didn't exist in set 3.
Yeah, I was definitely going to call that out because any bad loss here could be upwards, of 8 to 10 damage as people hit level 4, level 5. And so
Right.
your health is going to plummet real quick here. So hopefully he can build up something, but we'll see how that goes. And again, this is where it's just going to be a matter of like, does he power to 7 real quick, then roll down for a strong chosen, get that first pull of the, the 4 cost chosens at 7. And I think that's probably what he's going to be doing here. But again, got to be happy with 25 gold already.
Oh yeah, I mean, no matter what your HP is, and it's not that bad. It's only 94 at the moment, but you're going to be really psyched to have that much gold and that much econ. And it's just a brawl with a bunch of brawlers. It looks like between him and Grand Vice. There's a Zed in there somewhere, but it's brawlers are pretty popular early game these days.
Yeah, we can't hear the team communication, but something I'll call out is that Grand Vice is also level 3, which is one of those things that, hey, if you have a player who's got this state and try to minimize player damage, maybe everyone on the team also plays the same way to try to minimize any player damage when you guys encounter each other. You see Sunny is level 3. So a lot of level 3 players, and that is helping Agon by not taking as much damage right now. So
True. Well, the sharpshooter Teemo is kind of intriguing because we have seen sharpshooters start to come up a little bit more. And sharpshooter Teemo, I think Teemo is honestly one of the sharpshooters. Everyone's talking about Jinx all the time, right? But like, I think Teemo's legit too. Like, if you can get him chaining blinds really fast, that can shut down a lot of compositions as well. Obviously, it's not as good as some of the big spellcasting comps that we've seen. Like the Vhagar comp isn't going to be phased by that, but I think it's worth considering in some lobbies.
yeah, the nice thing about the sharpshooter build is just by getting a chosen, it almost doesn't matter which one. You enable the 6 chosen, which is just a lot of damage.
Right.
And so just being available to that option is good. But I will say pretty much every variation of sharpshooter requires at least 2 tiers more if you can get them. Whether you're going the Jinx variation or even Teemo, as you mentioned, unless you really luck into good Jhin items, but that's really risky because it means you'll have no CC.
Yeah.
So because Agon has no items or no tiers, I can totally see him skipping this for now.
Yep. Looks like he's not going to pick it up, which is Again, like I sharpshooters seem so strong on the PBE early on, but then people just kind of figured out that, oh hey, we can throw things into the back line or one shot people or do both with talent. So it kind of fell off a little bit until people started to recently discover those Jinx builds. But how about that? Wow, Veigar with a tier? That was on a carousel. That is amazing.
That'll certainly help point in the right direction. But yeah, and as you mentioned with sharpshooters, the other thing right now is I think the relevance of Kane. Kane has been a
Yeah,
very popular 5 cost, and so that's one of the harder things for sharpshooters to face is that backline massive burst from a blue Kane with items.
right.
And so I think that's also hurting the popularity of sharpshooters a bit right now.
I'm sure they'll have their patch. You know, they'll have their time eventually, but not quite yet. Looks like he's yeah. I think this is probably wise if he wants to start to think about maybe winning a round or two here, or at least losing a little bit less hard. I think it's fine to pick up that level 2 Tom Kench and get in the Elderwood buff.
There's a really silly play here that I doubt Agon would make, but it's possible. If he picks up the Jinx and then hits the Annie later, we could see a 3 mage,
Oh,
3 fortune, which could make this rich player even richer. Because right now, fortune is really strong. Pretty much at any, 3 fortune, any comp is just extra gold as long as you win one round at some point. So
yeah, that's a good point. Because the other thing along with that too is that if he doesn't win this round, he's not going to hit 40 gold. You might as well pick up that Jinx and hold it.
yeah.
Yeah, and he's definitely not going to win the round. So will he
But
buy
he is
it?
going to pre-level, and I do like this play because it will enable a possible 3 cost chosen,
Mhm.
and we hasn't seen many chosen so far, so he's definitely due. So I think this is a smart play for Agon right now.
Yeah, I'm curious to see what he's going to run into. He just saw the one Teemo, and then that's about it for Chosen's Find
Ooh.
Moonlight. Well, I mean, there's a Nephelios in the shop too, but it's a little bit. I think it's a little bit too late to commit to that.
Yeah,
Not the
he's
Chosen
scouting
you probably want
around.
to
I
see.
think they've had Souless on Moonlight duty lately, so
Mhm.
it'll be interesting to see. And I don't think he's got quite the right items for it. So yeah, he's just going to hard econ and let his teammate do it. So
Makes sense. Well, let's swap over to Tabzz to see what he is up to right now. A representative from Sunny Spring Retirement Home going for the Cultist Keeper opening, which is pretty popular, especially when you hit that early Kennen. It gives you a lot of CC, and he's running an early Kindred as well. So this, despite being on, despite losing a little bit, like objectively, this looks like a stronger board. But I guess without any big 2 stars, it suffers a bit,
yeah, I'm actually surprised. This is a really strong early game board, but
right? Yeah.
not great items and kind of off positioning a little bit here. So yeah, he's just taking a lot of damage, which again, for the strength of the board, is a little surprising, but does end up winning that round at least to get him to 30 gold for a nice econ breakpoint.
Right. Yeah, that's a big one, especially going into something like Krugs too. It's nice to get that win, go in with a little bit more gold, see what you can find. And with that cultist chosen, that's one of those chosens where it can be very game defining, right? Because it feels good to go, excuse me, feels good to go like 6 cultists. It's very stable. You can usually top 4 with it. It feels like you can use your items in a lot of different ways with that comp. So generally, if I hit that early cultist chosen, even if it is a TF, I tend to stick with that.
Yeah, certainly in the top of the ladder, we're seeing like Cultist gets played till around stage 4, stage 5.
Mm,
But after that, you've got to figure out a transition out of it. Cultist usually kind of falls off at that point. And I think a lot of players have really struggled to find what is that good transition out of Cultist. Do
right.
you go Vanguard? Do you go Sharpshooter? What do you go Callista Duelist? And so until players really figure that out, I kind of doubt we'll see Tabzz stick with Cultist,
Well,
especially with
that's
the relevance. Sorry, the relevance of Giant Slayer. It's also been a struggle for the Galio comps. So
Yeah, that's one of the things with it where, it can be like a solid top 4 comp, but it's not gonna win lobbies anymore at this point.
yeah,
So if you're playing on that top of that ladder, you're really trying to get as much LP as possible. Yeah, you need to find some sort of transition.
yeah, and there's
But
some
I
good
yeah.
strength here with the Sunfire, so that at least gives him the extra keeper going. So
Mhm.
yeah,
I like yeah, you want to keep in cultist, I suppose. Yeah.
yeah, you definitely want to keep in Cultist, and Evelyn is a surprising amount of damage players have figured out,
Mhm.
especially if you can get to Shade. But even without it, she just drops the aggro every time she ults. And again, the damage to the shields from Keeper gets Galio summoned quicker because that counts towards the Galio summon. So that's why Keeper and Cultist work so well together now.
Yeah, I think that's something a lot of people missed initially. I remember I didn't realize that until like a week or so in, where I was like, "Oh, wait a second, yeah, I do want keeper in there because it doesn't matter if it's not taking away their actual life total." One thing I love about the Evelynn early too is that you have the rest of your team doing damage, and in the early rounds, the damage is generally done kind of slow. But the way her ult builds, it seems like the timing usually works out where she gets that crit because they end up at low health by the time she hits that mana.
Yeah, for sure. And when they hit that low health, it's just a ton of damage. You get that like 4x multiplier on her ult. So that even at
Right.
1 star, she just destroys anything she hits below half health. So
Yeah. Well, we were surprised that Tabzz is looking a little bit low as far as the rankings goes, but he's certainly shot up since then. Gotten a couple wins, now fourth in the lobby right now, and it's players like Agon and Sunny Lu that I'm starting to worry about a little bit. Where, yeah, sure, they might have a ton of gold, the economy might be solid, but it's getting to the point where being at 60 HP or less is pretty concerning at this stage in the game.
I think Agon can get away with it probably until about 3.5, 3.6.
If anyone
It's
can,
really
he
just
can.
gonna it's just really gonna come down to when he hits 7 and does that roll down, does he hit a good chosen? Because if he hits something strong that he can build a comp around, I think we'll see a quick turnaround. But it's one of the risky things about going that strategy is if he ends up hitting, say, a bunch of 3 costs he's not interested in, that could spell very quick doom.
Right. And if you're familiar with watching Agon and TFT tournaments before, you'll know that this is pretty common for him to take these big loss streaks early on that look pretty scary, but he's generally able to find a way out of them and find that comp. So he's always been a player that's played low HP, high econ. We'll
Yeah.
see if he can do it again today.
Tabzz has to be happy with that round as he ended Kiting's win streak. Kiting was at 100 health before that, and so hitting the opposing team, that's got to feel real good.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Always nice to deny a little bit of gold with that.
Yeah.
So Khroen right now, the only one on the win streak.
Yeah, the other
Tabzz'
thing I'll call
teammate.
out here is running multiple copies of the same keeper does empower their shields even more. So running that extra Jarvan is making the shields even bigger. So I really like to see a lot of that. If you haven't done that on ladder, definitely consider even running, multiple 2-star Jarvans to get bigger shields until you hit that 4 keeper breakpoint.
Right, because it's kind of Rebels-esque in that the more you have around, they each provide that shield, and then they each provide that greater shield on other keepers specifically, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And
So it
since the
is pretty
keeper
strong.
shields puff the keepers themselves even more, what you find is, putting the keepers all touching, you end up with some really big shields.
Right. Well, here we go to the 3-4 carousel. There's a Talon with a sparring gloves on there. Wow, somebody's going to want that, I would imagine. But we'll see what everyone else goes for.
Yeah, I'm interested to see what Agon picks up. He picks up the rod, so I wonder if he's stuck with the mage build. But being this low with a mage build, that's really risky.
Yeah, it's one of those things too, where if you're playing that Veigar build, he doesn't really start to consistently win you rounds until you hit the 3-star. And so, is he going to have time even if he gets to level 7 to find that? I think that's a big concern unless he finds happens to get a chosen Veigar of some sort.
Yeah, for sure. Or even putting together the 6 mage version. Although it seems like at high elo right now
Ooh.
they're favoring more the 6 Elderwood version. So
Yeah, I think I've played over the last couple days. Or the last couple days before this tournament, I played a lot of Veigar builds, trying to force it, see what it was like, and I generally did like the Elderwood version better because it's just more resilient.
yeah,
It does better against some of those early burst damage comps.
yeah, I can see that. I've had the opposite experience. I actually prefer the mage
Oh,
version,
okay.
but I think I could be wrong on this one simply because, as you said, you're getting enough defense and offense from the Elderwood and Vigar stacking that you don't actually end up needing the extra damage from the 6 mage.
Right. Yeah, very true.
So yeah, we can definitely see Agon is also. Did he get fortune? Yeah, he's got fortune going. So he's lost streaking, high econ, and running fortune.
Wow. All right. So this is about as money oriented as you can possibly get.
Yeah.
And still not. Oh, is he going to win this? No, he's not going to win this round. That Hecarim will be strong later and still is pretty strong right now. But they got down to 44 HP.
Oof.
It's
Yeah,
about time to start doing something.
yeah, it'll be interesting to see if he can pull that off and get that big fortune loss streak. So
Yeah. Meanwhile, we're going to check in with Grand Vice playing for Team Agon.gg, of course. And he's got the Enlightened Janna, it looks like, to go for the 4 Enlightened. I think he did grab that Talon with the sparring gloves off the carousel. It looks like he already had an Infinity Edge ready to go. So this is kind of a pretty strong early version of what could be a very strong late game Talon carry build.
Yeah, I think we're seeing with Janna's mana being what it is right now, that the Janna chosen can be really strong and carry you through the early and mid game, especially if you can get a blue buff on it.
Yeah.
And then going into the late game with the Talon, works pretty well into a lot of the current meta comps. It can take care of an Ashe for you. It can take care of an Aphelios if you get a good hit on it. So yeah, getting that Talon with perfect items could do a lot of work here. So if he can hit that 4 or 6 Enlightened Talon with 2 Assassin, that'll be pretty strong.
Right, definitely. It's still one of those builds where it's once he starts popping off and resetting, it's shocking like how much he can tear apart a team.
Yeah, and you can see just how many shields Janna got there and how much that helped. It looked like Agon did win that round, by the way, so he got his payoff.
Yeah,
I
you're
think.
right. You're right. Well, we'll have to. I guess it's. We'll have to see just from looking at the board later on what he got. But what would it have been? He was running 3 fortune, and it had been about.
It's
What-
somewhere between 4 and 7,
Yeah, I was trying to
depending on
figure out
how
what
when he
round
got
he
the
put that
any,
in.
but that's still going to be a decent chunk, and it should give him time to then transition into the actual mage and or elderwood comp he wants to run. So
Right. All right. Grand Vice grabbing a couple items here. Ooh, another sword. Okay. Hey, there you go. Got the GA. He's got the chance to build a Bloodthirster instead. Can build the QSS. This is interesting.
the Talon choice here gets a little rough, because if you don't have the Last Whisper, you run the risk of getting stuck on a Vanguard like a Sejuani.
True.
But I know you do want the Bloodthirster, so that glove is actually kind of hurting him a little bit here. If you want to run like Last Whisper, i.e. Bloodthirster, things like that. But QS can work here. It does stop the Talon from getting stuck. So
Yeah. Decides to go with the GA over the Bloodthirster. Interesting. I wonder if that's because I do see like a lot of debate on that with Talon players. Some prefer the GA, some prefer the Bloodthirster. I think it kind of depends on what you're looking at in your lobby.
yeah, I do like here though running the GA only because it'll give him time to get untargeted and allow for another Janna shield to save him. And so having your key DPS come back, I think this is a smart choice for this particular comp.
Yeah, you look at the other boards too, and just using Agon as an example, since we've been talking about him a lot. That Vhagar, sometimes can target the Talon pretty quickly because he's going to be lower HP, especially at 1-star right now.
Yeah.
So if he runs
sure.
into Agon, that GA is going to benefit him in situations like that too.
So one thing I'll call out is you always want to look at the fortune player after they hit their payoff to see how they start doing. And it looks like Agon did lose his first round after the payoff. So it could be he's still struggling to transition with it, or he didn't quite get what he wanted. But right now it's not looking great for Agon, although he did just hit level 8 at 4-2. That is pretty big.
That is a lot of gold.
Yeah.
I'm gonna actually just sneak a peek at his board real quick in my other monitor. I'm just really curious. If I can
Yeah,
find
being
his...
level 8 at 4-2 is really early in Fates. So he's definitely got a lot of gold. So hopefully he can convert that into a strong board.
Yeah. We will see. I'll see if I can find that a little bit later. But for now, take a look at this board instead. Still
Also
watching,
call it Sunny is also running the Vhagar comp as basically perfect item Vhagar.
Yeah, the only thing he's missing is that third tier. So the issue is that Vhagar isn't going to instant cast at the beginning of the round, which is what a lot of people would say is what really makes that comp pop off. He's going to be doing a ton of damage at least and get huge shields, but might be a little bit rough late game.
It's pros and cons here because, like you said, if you run something like the Hand of Justice, you can get some extra heals, you get the instant cast, that can feel really good. But the death cap will give him the bigger ult for more healing on the Gunblade, which will allow him to go infinite a little bit more. And you can see here even Agon went the Jeweled Gauntlet version. So very similar builds of the Vhagar build here.
Interesting. Oh, that's perfect. Wow, he finds the Ezreal. And that's obviously something, that you want to replace the Ashe with right away. But you can tell he's holding on to the Elderwoods that he's found. There's always that possibility later on to go 9 Elderwood. But I believe, he's still running without any Chosens at all on this board, which is really rare.
Yeah, I mean, he's decided to invest in this Vhagar comp, running the 6 Elderwood. So I think he's really just looking for any Chosen that can support that.
Right.
And unfortunately, he doesn't look like he's hitting one. One thing I'll call out, though, is he's not buying the Vhagar in his shop. which says to me that he's going to try to push to 9 and even get like a chosen 9 or a chosen 5 cost. So
Yeah, the question is, will he be alive by the time he gets to level 9? 30 gold right now? Okay, he does.
he does buy
He
it.
does pick up the Vagar, yeah. And just at 32 HP, I don't think you can survive enough rounds to hit 9 and have a chance to hit what you want to hit, you know?
It'll be close. He does have a strong board right now. The lack of chosen is definitely going to hurt. Yeah, that's going to be really close, though. It's a little
Yeah.
greedy. You aren't taking a lot of player damage because it is only stage 4 right now. That's the thing. He's so far accelerated on the curve. I think he does have a shot at it. But it's going to be really hard to do.
You know, that board as well generally does a pretty good job of reducing the HP damage you take when you lose as well, because Vagar is going to be killing, 1 or 2 people every time he ults.
Yeah.
So it's generally going to be pretty close in a lot of cases. So ideally, between that and between maybe winning a round here or there, he might be able to stay alive.
One of the cool things we saw, by the way, there on the carousel is a lot of the players in this team competition will do the thing where someone on their team needs a very key item. So if you're at a lower place, you'll kind of guard it. And if you see an enemy team walking towards it, then you'll pick it up and take it. So that's
Right.
been pretty interesting to see.
So he finds a chosen, but it's not Elderwood chosen, it's Vanguard chosen. But maybe he can pick up that Hecarim 3 for that really strong front line. Looks like he might be shifting some items over. Yeah, he's rolling. He's only 2 Hecarims away.
That's
All
an
right.
interesting decision. I thought what he was going to do was buy the Hecarim and hold it until he hit level 9 just for the extra strength.
Yeah.
And then maybe transition out of it. But kind of spending that gold right now is a sign that's like very unlikely you're going to hit that stage. So
Right. Just gonna try to go for the Hecarim 3. This reminds me of when Agon was playing Vanguard Mystic back in set 3 and just had an opportunity one time to just get a Mordekaiser 3. He wasn't really planning on it. He just got it. And it ended up helping him win the lobby. So
yeah,
we'll see if he can recreate that 3-star kind of like off tank success he had before.
I do like the Azir pick here, especially with that mirror we just saw. That's 2 more targets that the enemy Vagar has to go through before they can get to your key stuff.
Yeah.
So that's a really smart choice. The positioning here is also interesting because it allows everyone to kind of walk around it, and Ari with the 890 range is still able to cast without those soldiers bothering. But Vagar can take a step forward. So
Oh, puts in the cane. Okay. So I agree with all the stuff you're saying. It's great for the mirror match and all that, but giving up a little bit of defense for a little bit more offense, it looks like.
yeah,
Interesting.
and I think this is risky, especially seeing that Ace already has a 2-star cane.
Oh
Investing
yeah.
in the cane further, I think, is a bit risky. So I don't know if I agree with this, but I will say if he is going to invest in the cane at all, he has to start running it now to get those 3 rounds to turn on Tormented. So
Yeah. And I guess it's one of those situations as well where, you're just lacking a little bit in damage. A lot of players would like to be close to or have that Vagar 3 at this stage in the game. And so not having that is a little bit rough. Finds another one, but he's still a ways away, especially because he knows he's being contested.
yeah, and again, we'll call out he had 50 gold at level 8 there. 50
Wow.
gold level 8 at 4-7 is just so far ahead of the curve.
Yeah. We'll see if he can turn that gold into some HP preservation. But for now, we're going to swap over to Khroen. And he is in 4th place right now. Going to Duelist, it looks like. Looks like you got that Duelist Callista.
Yeah, we saw this comp get played a lot yesterday, and I think even Khroen played it quite a bit. This is a comp that's been doing pretty well as of late, so this is nice to see. Decent items on Callista, but 6 Duelist plus Ginsus, you reach the attack speed cap very quickly. At that point, you want something like a Hurricane or an RFC to keep her safe. And so these aren't
Right.
really the best items for the character, unfortunately.
And now he manages to find a 7th Duelist in Lee Sin as well. And he's got that Nikos. So there might be a chance where he can get a pretty quick Lee Sin too. I suppose there's always the option that he could use that Nico to make a Callista 3 if he needs to do that later. But Khroen looking like he just got quite a bit stronger here.
Yeah, the Lee Sin with blue buff, I think, is going to be really big here. The
Yeah.
combination of that and the Callista are going to tear through pretty much any front line. At this point, something like this Talon comp, though, is kind of his weakness. So
I've never seen this interaction with Lee Sin before. He just kept punching the Shen and knocking up the Lux over and over again.
yeah, unfortunately, this is one of those ones where positioning matters because what's happening is you can only knock people off the board if they're at the edge. And so based on the positioning, the Lee Sin is knocking the Shen towards where the Lux is, but the space is occupied, and therefore you can't ever knock them off. Had that Lee Sin been more on the left or more towards the enemy side of the board, then you could have knocked them away. But it is one of Lee Sin's biggest drawbacks positioning wise. So
It does get a bit tricky, but man, when he hits, it pays off.
yep.
Definitely my favorite spell to watch in set 4 right now.
He's one
right.
Callisto away from 3-star, so
Yeah, he could. Do you think he'll use an Ecos for that?
I think
I
he
guess
will.
36 HP, you kind of feel obligated to, don't you?
Plus, it's
Oh,
your
wow.
chosen, so
True. That was a great Lee Sin hit. Got like 3 knockups there. This Lee Sin is just offering so much crowd control and giving the Azir and the Callisto a lot of time.
yeah, that's the thing. A lot of people kind of miss out is that Lee Sin, yes, he can kill people off the board in one shot, but he's also stunning everything he hits for 1.5 seconds and
Right.
the primary target for 4 seconds. So he can do a lot there. Um, but yeah, these Vegars with their ability to lifesteal are kind of proving to be a little problematic.
Yep, still a loss for Khroen, down to 25 HP. Fairly close lobby overall, but we are starting to see a couple players in danger of dropping out here. Agon, Kitingishard, very, very low. And so what that means is that we've got, 4, we've got 2 in the top 4 from each team, 2 in the bottom 4 from each team. So we'll see how this shakes out. But I think we were expecting this one to get pretty close today.
Yeah, for sure. And you see here Khroen putting in the Mystic, seeing all the different Veigar players. He knows that that Mystic's going to make a big difference. I also think the Dragon Claw on Jax was a really smart build. That'll keep that Jax alive for a long time, and it'll give him the mana to allow him to continually cast his ult, which will
Right.
dodge all the physical. So that's a really good Jax build here.
Yeah, this is the kind of Jax that you start to get really worried about. Low HP though, oh, can't survive the hit from the Veigar. A lot of damage from Agon, and Agon, as we've been watching, has been slowly starting to move up the rankings again. Made it from 8th back to 6th, starting to survive a couple crucial rounds. Can he do it though? Can he actually survive into a top 4? That'd be a very Agon thing to do.
I really like this choice from Khroen, by the way, picking up the Warmogs. I think a lot of people right now are considering Warmogs a bad item. But as I mentioned, without the RFC on Callista, she's going to be a lot more prone to damage. I expect this to end up on Callista to keep her alive a lot longer. Because again, she's a very fragile champion, so you either need something like RFC or the Warmogs here. And so really smart choice, I think, from Khroen.
Yeah, I wonder if he's tempted to put it on the Lee Sin just to try to get more mileage out of that. But I agree. I think it's time to do everything you can to keep your carry alive for as long as possible. So I'm curious to see where he's going to put that one. Zir 2. Oh, do you want it? I guess.
I do think it's worth here. The only drawback here is he's up against so many Veigar players that by doing that, he's now made the soldiers have higher health, which means they're less likely to be targeted, but does hit the Callista. And because now the Callista has enough health, he does Warmogs the Lee Sin, as you described. So
I think there's definitely reasons for both schools of thought there, but we'll see if Crone's choice to give that Lee Sin a little bit more HP pays off or not. Drops another belt on there just in case. Going up against Ace of Spades here. Who's
ooh, that is a
Ari
goodbye,
control.
Sejuani. She did cast before she left, though. Oh, it didn't
Yeah,
go off though. Fascinating.
yeah, that's interesting. It looked like the animation kind of happened, but I didn't see the stun. Either way, it worked out.
Yep. Oh, Souless has got the Aphelios comp fully online, so
Yep, those are the items you want. We're going to swap over to Solus's POV to check him out. He is currently number 1 in the lobby right now with Aphelios. And I don't think we saw a single Aphelios comp win yesterday, but we know it's been really strong on ladder. It's been really strong in the earlier days of the tournament. So that was a bit of a surprise yesterday, actually, to see it handled so well by the other players.
yeah. And Souless is definitely the player who's been playing it a lot. It seems like he's on Aphelios duty for his team, and so I think when he hits, it'll do very well. And this seems to be a case where he's hit. He's got the chosens he needs. He's got the items he needs. This is looking real strong for Souless. I also have to call out Kiting is hard, by the way, who was the top of the lobby early on, is looking like first out.
Oh,
So
wow.
kind of says something about like how you play and where your early strength is. So
Yeah.
all right, there's the spirit proc, and we're off.
Yep. There's the slowdown from the Sejuani ult as Tabzz tries to strike back with 6 Dusk, but you just can't grind through that Aphelios quick enough.
Yeah.
And even if you get there, he's going to GA. He's still going to be shooting. Such a hard build to deal with when it comes online.
Yeah, it's basically the best front to back build in the game right now. So unless you have something like a Talon or a Veigar that can go through and hit some of those higher things, but even the Veigar struggles because he's so high health at 4-star.
Right.
So this is definitely about as strong as it gets. He's got the GA on Ari also. I mean, like, this is, again, basically as good as it gets with this comp.
Yeah, this is the full-on Spirit of Helios comp, fully online at this point. If you look at that sidebar, though, there's one other player with a win streak in the lobby, and that's Agon. He was able to hit the Veigar 3 despite being contested. And when you hit that Veigar 3, especially when he's got items like the Jeweled Gauntlet, you're going to start to annihilate people.
Yeah, that's got to feel real good.
Yeah.
So yeah, again, it feels like Souless has kind of all the pieces he needs, and we've talked about this before. Aphelios, without all these pieces, kind of crashes at 7th and 8th.
Right.
But he seems to have everything he needs for Spirit, GARE, perfect item, chosen Aphelios at 3-star. So yeah, this is the comp that everyone fears right now on the ladder. This is the comp everyone's begging for the nerfs for. So kind of expect this to go all the way.
When it hits like this, it's hard to disagree. I mean, he's got just an embarrassment of riches right now. The Zeke's in the IE on Kindred as well. He's got multiple carry threats. He's speeding up Teemo, so Teemo's going to be blinding people. It's terrifying.
Yeah, really your only option to even have a chance at this, and it's a stretch, don't get me wrong, is something like you shroud the Aphelios to prevent the curve from going too quickly, and then get a cane on him to also get that, the Mono Reave effect multiple times. But again, that's basically your only option here. And so I don't see a lot of people having a Shroud right now. Don't see a lot of people running Kane. So I kind of expect Souless to run away with this.
Pretty much. We have our first couple players leaving the lobby. It looks like Khroen and Kitingishard both out. So one player from each team out. AceofSpaces as well. So 2 players from Sunny Springs Retirement Home out in the bottom 3. But Tabzz close to following. So right now, this is starting to look like a pretty good game for Agon.gg.
Yeah, it's, again, I have to call out that both Ace and Kiting were really strong in the early game and have now fallen off and end up in 6th and 7th respectively. So it kind of shows that right now in the meta as well, you can play the the almost open forward, the lost streak, get the items you need, turn it into a late game build. And he did hit the 3-star Hecarim, so he's still running that 3-star Hecarim as well.
Yeah, and I'm kind of thinking about this Hecarim as something to maybe prioritize more than I thought, because it is just so strong. Aphelios, though, is just going to kill everything. I mean, this board is unbeatable. Like, the combination of everything he found, the item-wise, especially the GA on Ari, the extra items on Kindred, he just hit everything exactly right this game.
Yeah.
Feels good.
Yeah, team-wise, though, it does seem pretty even. We're down to our top 4, and it looks like it is... Well, actually, it's got 3 from Agon.gg, so yeah, they've got to be feeling pretty good about that.
Yep, Sunny Lou, the only representative left from Sunny Springs Retirement Home, 7 HP. But if Agon wins one more, and Agon did lose that round against Souless, but if he's able to beat one more, then there's a chance that they could take top 3 spots here.
Yeah, which would be a really good start to this tournament for them. And especially with the format right now, anything you can get to get closer to that 80 in like 3 games as opposed to 4 will give you that much more opportunity to win the tournament. So getting an early lead like this would be really key for one of the teams.
Going up against Grand Vice now. So it is a team kill scenario, as Grand Vice only at 10 HP himself. So we'll see who goes out, because if Sunny Lou loses this as well, which he probably
I'll call it out here. As I said, there are ways to deal with Aphelios. It's not unbeatable. Talon on Aphelios was a good way to deal with this. So it is a strong board, but it is not unbeatable.
Interesting. I retract my former statement. I did not think the Talon, that particular Talon board was going to have what it took, but it does. Meanwhile, Sunny Lou is indeed out in 4, so Agon.gg do claim the top 3 spots. Yeah, that's quite a good start for the grand finals for them.
Yeah, I will call out that someone said it's the Talon board, and it is Morg 3. So it is a very strong counter board. So it's not like a normal situation. But yeah, it will be nice to see, if they can pull it up. But either way, I mean, we're at the point now where the team has 1, 2, 3. The results from here barely matter, so that's got to feel good for that team. So
Right. At this point, it's all kind of a victory lap for Souless and Agon and Grand Vice. Grand Vice hitting the Zillion 2, it looks like. And Souless still sweating. He wants to get that Zephyr placement just right.
yep. Which again, really funny that he's sweating against his team here, but
Oh, he hits the Veigar. No, he doesn't.
He's played that really well. Yeah, he got it.
He does. Okay, he did get it.
So.
Even though Zephyr's been in the game forever, I'm still so bad at landing those.
I often get accused in our playtests of doing what Souless just did there. In actuality, I most often just like kind of guess and predict where people are going to be. So I'm nowhere near as skilled as Souless at this stuff.
You don't need to defend yourself. If you're sweating hard in those playtest matches, that's just an accurate representation of the ladder. That's just more effective playtesting, in my opinion.
There you go. Yeah. And look at that. Agon went from that, we were worried about him in 8th to typical Agon style of here he is in 2nd place with 1 HP. So
I mean, that's why we talked about it earlier. We're like, if anybody can come back and turn this into a top 4, it's going to be Agon. He is the master of turning large loss streaks, large intentional loss streaks at the beginning of games into top 4s, if not top 2s.
Yeah, exactly. So pretty cool to see. Again, really good start for Agon GG. They've got to be happy with that 1, 2, 3. That's a lot of points getting them towards that 80. So that'll be cool to see.
Yeah. One last round here. We'll see if Souless is able to win this one or not. He was able to win the last time they met.
Yeah, I would certainly bet on Souless, but we'll see.
Yeah, the Hecarim got into the back, but he turned around. What does he see here? All right. Oh.
No, here's the part that everyone gets frustrated by. But yeah.
The animation. Well, he did it.
Oh, he did it. He did it.
Wow. All right. I mean, at a certain extent, like, even though Aphelios is very safe back there, if you can just sort of like bust your way through their front line quickly, which that Veigar is definitely going to be able to do, along with the Hecarim, if you just gang up on Aphelios, sometimes you can still get those wins.
Yeah, the other key thing there is surviving that 12 seconds, and then you saw Azir hit that ult. Right. Because again, I've said this so many times now, but Aphelios is basically an exponential curve, and anything you can do to slow down that curve's growth is really big. And so stopping that 3 or 4 seconds of turrets was a big help. And so that made the difference there.
I suppose things like Ezreal can help out in that case if he's able to get his cast off. So you've got a couple tools if you're Agon.
Yeah. You just have to survive that 12 seconds because QS kind of blocks a lot of those counter options. So
looking for that Ezreal too, but didn't find it. Just going to sell the one so he can replace the Zephyr. He's playing so
I must say,
right
they are sweating so hard against each other. This is actually amusing.
That's right. This they may be on a team, but only as far as the match goes, where they have to worry about the other team. Now this is just a straight up 1v1.
All right, what's his Zephyr? He Zephyr's the Ahri. That's a good Zephyr.
Who's Hecarim got Zephyr too? That's going to be a little bit tricky to deal with.
Yeah, he wanted the Hecarim to be out so that he could block all the Aphelios hits, but unfortunately didn't get that. So
yeah,
this feels like it'll be Aphelios, but Hecarim's still at full health. No, that's
I think the big difference. Yeah, the big difference here too is that the Azir went down a little bit quicker, so wasn't able to get the knock up on the Aphelios, and late in the fight that is. Agon takes second. It's going to be Souless taken first with the Aphelios build, but the big story here, like we mentioned, is that Agon.gg claiming spots 1, 2, and 3 in our first lobby, and that's going to give them a pretty decent points lead.
Yeah, again, that's got to be really good because you said with the points distribution that if everyone goes even, it's about 20, 21 points. Sure. And if you want to get 80, you want to hit something like 26 per round, give or take, 27 per round. And so anything you can get to closer to that 27 mark is going to get you there one game earlier, and that's going to be a massive difference. So.
Yeah, and as soon as one team hits that 80 threshold, it's really likely that the next game is going to be the last game because you've got a full 50% of the lobby capable of winning it,
Exactly. So if as long as, one of them can win, it's not like the other formats, where it has to be a particular player. This is just 50% chance. So
exactly. So 27 points for Agon.gg after one game, 14 for Sunny Springs retirement home. But we have a lot of games to go, at least 3 or 4, I would imagine, before we decide a winner here.
They hit that 27, and that's a key number because 27 times 3 is 81. So if they can do that 2 more times, that'll be really quick at ending this pretty quickly. We wouldn't expect it.
Right.
We'd expect it to be more like the 20 range. So we're probably looking at 4 or 5 games, but it'll be up to how much Sunnyside Retirement Home can turn this around. So
It's funny because we were talking earlier, and Agon himself won the last Mort Dog Madness tournament. So it looks like he's going for the two-peat, even though this is a team scenario.
yeah, that'll be interesting to see. But I wouldn't count Sunnyside Retirement Home out yet. It is just
Yeah.
one game. It's a bit of a rough start, but they've got some good players. I think they'll bounce back.
So in South Korea, there's a thing and there's a phenomenon in esports called the Kong line, where it's basically the players that always get to the finals but don't win. And I feel like we're kind of getting close to putting Khroen into that category in TFT almost, where he's such a good player, such a consistent player, makes nearly every finals lobby, but just can't seem to get the win either. So maybe he breaks that today, but if he doesn't, I think we might have to like crown him one of the kings of silver in TFT or something like that for the first year.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. So yeah, I'm just really interested to see how people adapt to this. Again, they know Souless is playing the Aphelios comp every day. So, do they react to that? Do we start seeing some of that griefing, some of that item blocking, things like that? So, yeah.
I think you'd have to, right? I mean, at this point, and they probably were last game too. I was watching a lot of the games for Sunny Springs Retirement Home over the last few days before we got to the broadcasted matches, and the one of the most common things I heard was who's playing Aphelios. If it's not us, we want to take every single Aphelios we can, just
Yeah.
hold it on the bench, and make sure to make it harder and harder for them to hit that Aphelios for. Let's get into game at number 2, starting things off with Sunny Lou from Sunny Springs Retirement Home.
Yeah. So again, let's see how this goes. How will they play? I want to keep an eye on what item Solus got. He got Rod, so that's one of the 6 items he needs. So yeah.
Right. Starts off with a Diana and gloves for Sunny Lou. And
Glove is always one of the hard ones because it's like it builds a lot of the items you need, like Quicksilver, things like that. But it's a lot of the items that you don't want till later in the game because they're not going to help you win early. So
yeah, even things like the Hand of Justice, like in a lot of builds right now, you'd rather be building like a blue buff or a Shojins or something. So it is kind of weird, like you're saying, that most of the glove items are things you want later on.
yeah, and even then you end up with those situations where like, do you slam the Thieves Gloves? Because again, Thieves Gloves is a very high variance item. It is a lot of power, but it puts you in a situation where you don't have like a build defining item, things like that. So
You got to think about Grand Vice, though. Yesterday, we saw that game where he slammed the Thieves' Gloves early, and then the second item he built was a locket, and you're just like, what is going on here? And then he goes in and wins the game with Duelists. So if it's all in the hands of the player, right? If you know where to put those Thieves' Gloves, you can still do pretty well. If you're Grand
true,
Vice, you can
true.
still do pretty well.
Yeah, that's true. The way he used the Thieves Gloves on the Yasuo yesterday was really cool to see. So
Yeah. Not a lot of players would do that. Nice gold
true.
start for Sunny Lou. Ooh, Elderwood Brawler Maokai. Like, that's I see that and I'm like, all right, I'm Elderwood this game. Yep, no other. The only item you've got is just a glove. You can build around that.
Maokai definitely feels like one of the easier chosen to build around early. It
Definitely.
gives you the options either way. If you get the Brawler version, you end up with strong Brawlers very early. If you go the Elderwood version, as you said, you can go 6 Elderwood. You could even still go in Brawler because there are Elderwoods within Brawlers. And honestly, just Maokai early as chosen is a very strong champion. So
Yeah. He may actually pass this up. He will. Yeah. So prioritizing the economy over everything else. And, this is where the team strategy comes into it as well, because it might be a situation where he's just not the person who's, specializing in that on this team. It doesn't necessarily need to be that way. But, I do appreciate prioritizing economy, but
oof.
I would feel really hesitant about passing up a Maokai like that. But that said, he does have 20 gold at 2-1. Can't complain.
Yeah, again, we saw this from Agon last game, right? Being at
Yeah.
20 gold at 2-1 later turned into a second place. So that's got to feel pretty good. He does have the 2 Tom Kenches, so there's a world where maybe even he hits a fortune loss streak. So yeah, a couple options here for sure. And again, we've seen that like if you're looking for those late game chosens, not investing in something like a Maokai early keeps you open to that option. So
Right. And this is a pretty good loss. Doesn't lose by the full amount of HP against Grand Vice here. Now, Grand Vice has a possible Ginsu's on his bench, looks like. So we'll see if he decides to put that to use later.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see again. And this is where like a lot of players are always focused on like, do you slam items very early or do you hold on to them? And we're seeing a bit of restraint in this tournament right now. We're seeing a lot of people hold their items as they try to figure out who's going what build, so they don't grief each other. Who's going to be doing what. So kind of almost different than how they'd play on ladder, I think.
Yeah, I saw somebody built a Ginsu's and put it on their Nidalee there. I didn't quite catch which player that was,
I do think
but
that version can work. Like Nidalee is a champion that has a high mana cost but a high impact spell,
Mhm.
and so getting that Ginsu's on will get you through the early game pretty well to get more, auto attacks, to get more casts because those casts hurt early game.
Oh yeah, totally. And if you pair that with like an early Warlord or something like that buff, that can get pretty good for just
It was
getting a little win streak going. It's
it was
Agon
actually
actually.
Agon.
All right, interesting. So Agon, if you confront him about the way he's played a lot, where these long loss streaks and all that kind of stuff, he'll tell you, and he's told me this in interviews before, that he doesn't really think of himself as a player that always plays that way, which surprised me because he has played that way so much in the games we've seen, but he's also very capable of utilizing a win streak as well, which what we might see this game with him still at 100 HP. But let's take a look at Tabs now.
So Tabs is playing something I want to see a little bit more of as people figure this out. But Jack's Chosen with the buffs from last patch is actually really good. If you can get some good tank items on him, and hilariously enough, he's actually one of the best counters to Aphelios because he's immune to Aphelios during his ult.
True.
And so if you can get a strong Jax 3, you can do some real good late game damage. And you usually only need 2 Divine to get that extra damage reduction. So it'll be interesting to see if he sticks with this or rotates off of it. But I think there are some Jax builds that players haven't really caught on to yet. So
Right. This Jax builds I've been seeing have been prioritizing. Well, it's kind of two different camps, and we talked about this a little bit yesterday. But the one I've seen a little bit is like two Hand of Justice and like one Ginsu's, where he just casts quickly and does a lot of damage. But then you can also just straight up put tank items on him too.
yeah, I'm a big fan of the tank one. You can also go Titan's Resolve. He's a very good user of Titan's Resolve because it makes him both tankier and do damage with that ult. And then if you can get something like Titan's Resolve Gunblade, he can actually almost sustain himself infinitely, which is really cool to see.
Ah, that's crazy. I haven't seen that build yet. That makes sense.
Yeah, and this is
Well,
one of the thing I'm liking about Fates right now is yes, we have some characters like Aphelios that it's like very clear what they should be building, right? People have figured out and optimized the builds. But then we have other characters like Yasuo, Jax, that I think people are still debating and still figuring out what is the best items on these
oh yeah.
characters.
It's great because like the little group that I play a lot of games with and do a lot of theory crafting with every day, it's totally different. They're like, oh well, today everybody's building Kindred like this. Today everybody's building Jax like this, and just constantly looking at the top of the ladders in NA and other regions and seeing how people are itemized, seeing what comps are succeeding. I don't ever recall a set in TFT where it's been so different day to day, and that's great.
Yeah, and certainly we can hope, we'll get some of those cleared up. But for now, like I said, those champions where it is kind of a mystery which item to build is really good for the game because
Mm.
it just opens up some creative strategy here. And yeah, we see here like Jax is just really good into these Yasuos because he can dodge all of those attacks, gets a lot going, has so much health. And even though he's up
So
against two-star Yasuos, this is just such a dominant performance.
wow, if you're not a believer in Jax yet, I don't know what to say, but takes a chunk out of his teammate Khroen, and this is interesting because Khroen had the duelist chosen as well. So I wonder which one of them plans on pivoting away from a duelist because you wouldn't think that you'd want to have two people on your team going for that at the same time,
Yeah, for sure. And again, this is what I was talking about. Like, is he just going to use the Jax early game
right?
because it is strong early and then pivot out of it, or do you go for the Jax 3 and really commit to it? And I think it'll be really determined by like, does he buy this Jax in the shop?
Yeah, because he doesn't really have a way to hit 30 gold. It's going to come down to he's not going to hit 30, so he has to make a decision here.
Yeah, and the fact that he hasn't bought it yet means he's just using this. Oh god, look at this.
Jax is crazy. Are
Jax
you
is
are you are you
this is good.
terrified by what you've created?
No, I love this. This is what Jax is supposed to be. So This is
It's
great.
working well. Yeah. Look at this Jinx on the other side for Grand Vice. Ginsu's and a QSS already. So those are good items for a number of different compositions. But I'd love to see somebody actually run sharpshooters today. We haven't seen a whole lot of that yet. We're going to take a look at Grand Vice's board now and watch. This is going to be an Ashe eventually, it looks like. Maybe, yeah, probably not a Philios. I think it's going to be Ashe. But Jinx is definitely a good user of those items as well.
Yeah, this definitely feels like an Ashe build for sure. I know some people have liked the Jinx build where you go QS Shojin Ginsu's,
Right.
but I've personally found that build to kind of fall off. You kind of want more tiers, so Jinx does that initial cast. But like you said, with all the brawlers that are in this comp right now, this is screaming Ashe build, right? Those are good Ashe items. So I fully expect this to become the brawler Ashe build that we're used to seeing.
Yeah. Seems like a pretty safe, educated guess. He does drop in the Evelyn with the Shade chosen just for some extra strength. But wow, look at this hitting two 2-star brawlers. Always
Yeah,
feels good to get that
that's got
rolling.
to feel good.
Yeah, has room to put somebody else in there, and can
Ooh.
jump up to 3 Shade. Wow. So this is just a really strong utilization of chosen that you just find, right? Because he's not planning on playing this the entire game, but now you've got a really scary board.
Yeah, and so now we have an interesting case where does he stick with Shade? Because these are decent Zed items. He's got Shade, and he's got a Brawler frontline. Does he try to
Yeah.
do like Spirit Shade comp, or does he just use this again? I keep talking about this to get to level 7, and then transition out, find that Ashe, and as soon as he finds an Ashe, transition into the more common build. Because these are really good item carriers, and we see this a lot with the game right now. That like you play strongest board, right? This is the
Right.
strongest board you can have right now. It doesn't mean he's going to stick with it, and that's what we've seen a lot of our best players be able to do is change their board and adapt to their late game plan. So
Yeah. And I would say Grand Vice is easily one of the best board players we have in TFT, where he's just very intelligent about identifying what's going to be the most strongest or the most strongest. Wow. He's good at identifying what's going to be the strongest at a given time in the course of the game.
yeah, for sure. And again, like even just having the option open here, right? Like, does he hit 2 more Zeds? Maybe that changes his mind. Does he hit that 5% Ashe right now? That changes his mind. And being adaptable is a really big thing that we see in TFT that separates some of the average players to the best players is their ability to play on the fly and react to the situations that have been given them. So
I heard you're a fan of adapting.
I am. It's true.
Grand Vice living the Mort dog dream right now. But it's cool to see. And 3 Shade is definitely something that cannot be underestimated in the early game as well.
Yep. I will call out, by the way, Souless playing a new comp we haven't seen before yet. It looks like a Phelios carry.
Oh
So
wow. Who would have thought?
it's a new one for Souless.
He's just a 1-star. How can he be good? 1 cost rather. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. But again, like we've talked about before with the Aphelios build, it'll either be he hits it and he'll turn on pretty late, or he won't. So we'll have to see how that goes.
Yep. Pretty much. Grand Vice going into his next round here, and it's going to be up against Kiting. So Kiting running a little bit of Shade as well, a little bit of Elderwood. Looks like he's got the Elderwood Lulu, I would imagine.
Yeah, it's interesting. These items he's built on Diana, I'm trying to figure out where these end up.
Hmm. It seems like he's kind of leaving himself open to both different Elder builds, honestly, because the blue buff would go into Vagar, but the glove I suppose could be a jeweled gauntlet, but the Ginsu's would definitely go on the Ashe. So, you could run Vagar and then just throw a Ginsu's on an Ashe later and have like sort of a secondary carry in that case. But it is
Yeah,
interesting to see those items. Yeah,
yeah, I guess if you went Ash and then put the blue buff on like a Cane, that's another option as well.
that's true. Yeah, that's
But
true.
again, locking the items that early, I think, is still really risky. So
Well, and also, just like locking items from 2 different compositional trees, more or less. You could do what we were talking about, but it's not necessarily something you want to do in a given game.
yep. Do have to call out it's 3-4, and we have 2 players at 100 HP, one at 94.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, the bottom of the lobby has 3 players at 49. So this is a very top heavy lobby right now.
Yeah, and it's another lobby that's looking pretty good for Agon.gg at the moment, where 3 out of the top 4 are from that team. And things could change quite a bit, but strong start for them again.
Yeah, I mean, we saw this last game, right? That the two players that were at the top of the board right about now actually ended up taking sixth and seventh last game. So
True.
definitely want to hesitate on like calling it based on the standings right now because we've already seen really heavy swings in the late game.
Khroen just hit that Yasuo 3 as well, so that's going to be a bit of a power spike for him. Looks like it's going to be Grand Vice versus Sunny Lu. Sunny Lu relying on the Kindred carry for the moment. He does have an Ashe as well, but he hasn't moved those items over just yet.
Yeah, as you mentioned, the Yasuo 3 is a big power spike. Yasuo was kind of designed to be this one cost that can carry late game, especially if you can get the Yone late.
Right.
So if we can see that happen, that'll be really good.
Well, Khroen won that round really quickly. The little check mark appeared very rapidly by his name. So, yeah, I think he's going to be doing pretty well. We're going to take a look at
Woo!
his board actually, and he's got that Warmog's Giant Slayer on Yasuo as well. And we talked about belts, maybe being an item that's kind of fallen a little bit in priority in a TFT right now. But when it comes to exiles, that Warmogs is great because it gives them so much bigger of a shield in the late game.
Yeah, exactly. I was gonna say Warmog's Yasuo is one of the few characters that actually makes a big difference because
Yeah.
Exile is giving 50% shield, so it's basically giving Yasuo 1500 more HP. That is a lot of HP. And remember, damage taken causes mana, so all that's just going to happen is as he takes more damage, he'll ult more and more and more times. So this is a very powerful Yasuo, and I agree with that item build. So
Yeah, you add in the 80% lifesteal that he's going to get when he adds the Yone in theoretically in the late game, and that Yasuo is going to be a very very strong carry.
yeah. Solus is cloak away from his Aphelios build, so he's definitely got that going.
Yep.
So we'll see if anyone can grief away those cloaks, but otherwise, Solus is looking to kind of back to back play the same comp that we've seen. Meanwhile, Ace is struggling really hard to do the same thing. So
Certainly looks that way. Yeah. Now, one thing that Khroen kind of lacks is 2 stars of any other kind. He's got the Yasuo 3, but he only has a 2-star Fiora, I believe, aside from that. So gonna need to roll down at some point and find some more stuff. But for now, that Yasuo 3 should be able to carry for the time being.
yeah, certainly getting some extra tankiness will help that comp a lot. Something like a Jax 2 will be big. But also, he's now in the position where he needs to get to 7 and 8 as quickly as possible to have a chance at that Yone that'll make a massive difference to his comp. So
Wow, and having a Nikos as well is going to be pretty sick because the faster you can get to that Yone 2, the faster you can get to taking first place in the game.
yep. Now, this is an interesting case where do you build the tanky Yasuo and put the Bramble on him, which will keep him alive from things like a Jeweled Gauntlet Ari, also just extra tanky against Aphelios, or do you do something crazy like double Frozen Heart here, which with the extra range, the item starts to get better and better the more you have of them. So, and looking like he's going for the Bramble option, which definitely the safer play. He can probably
Right.
blue buff the Janna here. So
Well, we talked about this a little bit yesterday too, where with the prevalence of Quicksilver Sash in the meta right now, that Frozen Heart has kind of dropped off a little bit in terms of priority and usefulness, I'd say.
yeah, for sure. If you can get it on the back lane, though, still slowing everyone else can still be useful. But I agree that like this was the better option for sure because again, having that Yasuo be immune to critical strike damage is big,
Right.
and the blue buff on Janna will be really big here. That's a lot of shields very
Ooh.
quickly. Those shields
And
are providing AD, so yeah,
now that's a Janna too. That's going to instant cast shields at the beginning of every match. So here's where it starts to get really scary for Crone's opponents. Finds the Divine by putting the Lux in there. That's going to help the Jax a little bit, but also offer that CC from the Lux ability as well. So everything kind of coming together for Khroen right now.
yeah. The only thing if Khroen somehow magically hits a Yone at 7 or something like that, that would be a big boost.
Yeah.
But yeah, now he's in the situation where his next step is probably throwing a Mystic, anything to keep that Yasuo alive a little bit longer. The only thing that's unfortunate here is the Yasuo doesn't have much damage other than the Giant Slayer.
Mhm.
So if anyone's running like a Vanguard build, for example, that Yasuo can get stuck. Or as we
True.
see here, Tabz's Callista just kind of ate it alive. So
Yeah, I guess if a Callista gets enough time, puts enough spears in you, it doesn't really matter what defensive items you have. But that was close. And honestly, that was probably the best result for their team anyway, right? Because Tabzz is on the same team as Khroen. Tabzz is on a long win streak. So if
yeah,
Khroen would have ended that, that would have been unfortunate. So despite Khroen, losing a bit of HP, I think that was the best scenario for their team.
agreed.
So we're
So
gonna check
unfortunately,
out.
right now, oh,
Oh, go
sorry, go
ahead.
ahead.
No, you.
All right. Well, unfortunately, it looks like Ace, who was trying to challenge Souless a bit, is ending up in a rough spot. And Souless just hit the Aphelios 3.
Wow.
So Souless definitely being the better Aphelios player on the teams right now. So
Yep. And he's been one of those players traditionally in TFT that's been able to just ultra master a comp too. Remembering what he did with Dark Stars towards the end of set 3 at certain points. If he picks a comp, he can generally get better at playing it every single game than a lot of other players can.
yeah, I think over time, Souless has definitely proven his shtick is find a comp, play it 200 games, and
Yeah,
show that he can master that comp. And in this case, it is the Aphelios comp. So
it's the old I don't fear the person who's practiced 10,000 different kicks. I fear the person that's practiced one kick 10,000 times.
exactly.
So that's definitely Solus.
And we've talked about this a bit before, right? And like TFT, yes, there is an element of playing adaptable, but there's only so many comps, and learning the ins and outs of a few comps as well can
Mhm.
be very masterful because you can learn these really nuanced situations like what do I do if I'm running low on gold? What do I do if I'm contested? What do I do if the lobby's assassins? What do I do if I don't have the QS? Like you learn a lot about these minute decisions that if it's something you're just trying for like the fifth or sixth time, you may not know all these intricacies. So
Yeah, very true. I think set 4 is one of those sets. Ooh, nice. Always good to get the Dusk Spatula there and put that on the Jin. Yes, but
that's
what I was gonna say is set 4 is one of those sets that really does make you play wider as far as what strategies you go into a lobby equipped to do it. Equipped to do, you know.
yeah, for sure. By the way, you love the Jin Dust
Oh,
comp, don't you?
it's so good. Like Dusk Jin, I'm convinced. I think Dusk Jin is the best use of Dusk Spatula. I know there's other good ones out there, but Jin's my favorite.
I do like that it gives him so much AP that even on the second sharpshooter bounce here, which is like only 35% power, it's still
Yeah.
just a massive amount of damage. So
Oh yeah. I mean, he just deletes Yasuo there. Ooh, does he win this one? No,
nope.
not quite. The Ginsu's is a little bit awkward on the Jin. It's not the greatest item ever on him, and you'd really hope. The problem here is that you really want a GA on Jin right now, and so the fact that he doesn't have that Guardian Angel is going to probably mean that this Jin isn't going to be able to carry as hard as you would want to. But he's also running 5 Dusk with 0 Rivens right now, which is definitely not ideal too.
Yeah, if he could hit the Riven, that'd be a big spike for his team. And you can
Yeah,
tell he's holding those that pike is basically the Riven items. He's got the
exactly.
blue buff ready, he's got the Sunfire ready, and he's just really hoping he can hit that as soon as possible.
Yeah, you need that Riven because this without the GA, this Jin isn't going to be able to carry you.
Yeah, and
And
the positioning is also the kind of thing where you could protect that Jin a little bit better instead of putting him in the obvious corner.
sure,
But unfortunately, yeah, it's not quite enough. But again, playing against his teammate here, losing 1 by 1 isn't the worst thing. So
yeah, for sure. This is one of those situations too where it's like, come on, where's my Riven? By now, you're supposed to have seen at least one, right? So the lucky thing is that he's very close to level 8. He's got a lot of gold to roll down when he hits it, so he should be able to find that Riven if he really needs to. And as far as the lobby goes, he's pretty healthy in terms of HP. There's a big drop between second and third right now, but 58 going into 5-1 is still pretty good.
yeah, we're still really top heavy with 2 players at 80, and then the 58, and then they all get to like 30. And we see right now our two Aphelios players are both kind of holding hands into that 7 and 8 right now, and we'll have to
Yep.
see which one gets knocked out first. But it seems like Ace has been struggling a bit more. So Ace just
Yeah,
hit
for
his
sure.
3-star Aphelios though.
All right. So it's a duel of theoretically Aphelios 4s. A lot of times it's not even like who hits the Aphelios 3, it's who hits all the 3 costs for the other Moonlight units to enable that Aphelios 4.
For sure. He did hit his Riven right before we left, so he did get his 6 Dusk, so that's going to feel good for kiting.
Yep. That's a big jump in power. Wow, look at this. 1 away from a Silas 3, 1 away from a Lysandra 3. And
Yep.
yeah, he's
The
at the
the other
point.
thing I'll call out here is that he doesn't have the GA Ari this time, and that was a big difference last time because he got the Spirit proc earlier, and we can see here he just kind of got demolished. So
Yeah. I think part of it as well is that he's got the Hunter chosen Aphelios, which is definitely less than ideal because that means you have to put one more Moonlight unit in. That means you have to find one more Moonlight 3-star. Finds both of them, luckily, but you're restricted on synergies a little bit when you don't have the Moonlight chosen specifically.
Yeah, just hit. He definitely hit. So he is alive. We'll see if it makes a big difference though, because again, I still think without the GA on Ari, this comp is a lot weaker. But the one big upgrade here is the Zerat portal on a 3 cost. That is a lot more HP you have to burn through to finally get to that Aphelios. Oh, look at this. We have the mirror match of the. So who is going to knock out who first?
But is it the 4-star Aphelios on the other side?
Not. It is not.
Okay,
And
that's
so
what I
I
was gonna
think
say.
Souless hit a little bit better.
Oh no!
Wow!
What? Life is unfair.
That Zephyr was huge.
Yeah, Ace of Spades. You can see the pings. 3-star better than 4-star, I guess. Ace of Spades stays alive.
You heard it here. Don't upgrade your Aphelios. It's a bait.
Apparently not. Yeah.
Yeah, Hurricane was a big difference there. And it also goes to show you, like, even Aphelios, people have their primary item they like to build, the GA/QS Ginsus.
Mhm.
But by taking a risk and deviating from that meta there, he definitely got his his win there with the Hurricane. So
Worked out for sure. Best case scenario for Tabzz as we swap views here is he has the chosen, the assassin chosen Talon. It's going to be pretty strong.
yeah, getting that is great items for Talon. So
Yeah.
it will be a little susceptible to some burst, but with the Janus shields, it should be okay. And getting it chosen also, that's a bunch of extra AD, and his spell scales with AD. So
the blue buff and Janna getting that instant cast shield out there helps a lot for sure. So Tab's in pretty good shot or a pretty good space right now. Let's see what he can find here. Interesting items on the carousel. A couple Morellos, 3 Morellos actually.
yeah, there's also the Elderwood spat that someone could take, which might push them into a 9 Elderwood build if they can hit it.
Yep.
So a couple options there. Ace also hanging on with his 8 HP after taking out his mirror. So
he's gonna be able to find all the Moonlight champions he can now. Now that Souless has them all back in the pool again.
for sure. Yeah, it's interesting to see. Like, we saw a lot of enlightened builds this time to try to deal with the Aphelios this time. Khroen still got his duelist build, but the lobby's definitely like closing up here. We talked about how earlier there were 2 players at 80. Now it's a lot tighter.
Ooh, he's gonna use the Nikos to make a Kane too. But his synergies are so tight here. What do you really take out? I mean, I guess if you take out the Lux, you lose Divine and Dazzler, which isn't the end of the world here.
Yeah, I think taking out the Lux would be the call I would make, but he's choosing to take out the Cassiopeia for Mystic, which I think can also work. Just 2 Mystic right now is kind of a little bit weaker, so or just level to 9.
Wow, lots of mirrors going on in this particular game. Another chosen talent on the other side, actually, from Sunny Lou. So whose talent is going to be superior here? That Morgana is okay.
Definitely, Tabzz has the better items for sure. Especially if Sunny doesn't roll healing, but Sunny had the GA, which I think made a big difference here. So
that Dusk Spatula Morgana is also pretty scary.
Yeah, that's true. Especially if you can get up to 4 Dusk, that'll do a lot of damage.
I think it kind of makes Morgana into pre-nerf Morgana at that point, as far as damage goes. So we remember how that was back in PvE. That was scary.
Very true.
Yeah. Tabzz finds a Zillion. That's definitely a useful mystic to have later on. And yeah, it might be pretty tempting to take out the Caspia. No, he's going to sell it. Okay. I'm just such a big Zillion fan that, I don't know.
Yeah, Zillion 1 is really strong for sure, but I do like this play to get the blue buff on Kayn. Blue buff on Kayn is a very big boost. You get the earlier cast, you get more rapid casts. So that's really good to see.
True. Yeah, definitely can't complain. You can see him spinning away in the back lines too. Grand Vice, meanwhile, relying on this Zed. Ooh. Good Zed items. Oh, Zed is so good. Wow.
Yeah, those are damn near perfect Zed items. So
yeah. It was low, but not low enough. Meanwhile, Agon takes a big shot from Khroen, it looks like. We've got Ace of Spades and Souless both out, so both of our Aphelios players have a fell out of the lobby. I'm I'm sorry. It sounded much better in my head before I said it.
May a fell out of the lobby.
I'm done. I'm done.
Nice. Yeah, really close lobby otherwise. We had our two Aphelios players going 7 and 8, but otherwise, look at this 28-15 in 1 through 6. So
Mhm.
this is pretty interesting.
Yeah, very, very tight lobby. Ionic Spark will be the reward for Tabzz here.
That's
Where
actually
would
a
you put
really
that?
good item to put on Kane.
That's what I was kind of
Because
thinking. But
yeah, you'll jump back and lower the magic resist by 40%. So I think that'll be a big power spike there. And he finally gets to transform. I fully expect this to be blue Kane. I would be shocked if it wasn't. So
seems like Blue Kane is the choice of the week right now as far as Kane upgrades goes.
it seems like the strategy seems to be if you don't have damage items on it, you want blue for the damage boost.
Mhm.
If you happen to already have damage items, like let's say an IE Jeweled Gauntlet, then you can go red because you've already got enough damage and you can keep him alive longer. So
Right. It's going to be a strong Kane either way right now as Tabzz goes up against Khroen. It looks like playing against his
oh,
teammate.
look at that Callista.
Yeah, that's crazy. Like Runins and Ginsu's and 3 cost. Ooh, gets brought back by the Zillion. That's
The
pretty
Zillion.
crucial.
Yeah.
Yeah. Round would already be over if that weren't the case, but he's going to survive long enough to take the round.
Yeah, that is a really powerful Callista there. You love to see that. Almost perfect items. I think you could argue swap Hurricane for RFC, but otherwise really good. And as you mentioned, the Zillion ult keeping it alive from the double assassination there,
Yeah.
really handy. So
In this meta with so much shade and assassin flying around, and it seems like assassin is kind of like the on the rise this week in particular, I think Zillion's just going to get more and more important now.
yeah, especially because he can swing the fight. You know, two units getting to come back, even at 1 cost or 1 star, can swing the fight pretty heavily. So
Right. And the change that was made to Zillion, where he can no longer ult himself, I feel like actually makes him even better because sometimes you just kind of waste one of his reses on him, and then he wouldn't get to cast the
Whew,
second one, so you essentially don't save a carry there. So I
that
think that
was
makes him even
not a
stronger.
close fight.
No, it was not. Tabzz on the verge of being eliminated, and Sunny Lu is going to do just that. Tabzz out in 5th. So we have our top 4. It's going to be Khroen, Grand Vice, Sunny Lu, and Kiting is hard. So it looks like we've got 2 from each in the top 4.
Yeah, this lobby's looking a lot closer than last time. The one thing I'll say is, you know, Ace higher than Souless, Tabzz higher than Agon. So right now it does look like Sunnyside Retirement Home is going to come out a little ahead if it plays out the rest of the way. But either way, this is one of those lobbies that's going to kind of feel a little bit like a wash. It gives a Sunnyside Retirement Home a chance to kind of earn some of those points back they lost in the first round. But it just kind of shows how close these competitors are. This has been an insanely close lobby the whole way through. So
Oh, yeah. It's just funny how nobody was having any of those Aphelios shenanigans in this particular lobby.
yep. Whew. Force Spirit, Force Shade is definitely one of the other strong comps right now. And so Grand
Wow.
Vice taking that, knocking out Khroen.
That was enough, yeah, to actually take out Khroen. Now the question is, who dies between Kitingishard and Sunny Lu? That Dusk Morgana doing a lot of damage, giving a lot of time actually for the Lux in the back to get shots going.
Whew.
He's gonna win. Yeah, Sunny Lu. Okay. So looks like Khroen out in 3rd, Kitingishard out in 4th. So just like what you were mentioning earlier, Mort, it just seems like Sunny Springs Retirement Home just getting those slightly higher placements this game.
Yeah, just a little bit. You know, it's not one of the results you're going to be happy with because again, it's like plus or minus 1 or 2 points isn't going to make a big difference here.
Right.
But he does get a Kane 2 here, and again, we have seen a lot of this competition come down to 1 or 2 points. So I do think they're going to try really hard here to win this one. So
Yeah. I mean, if anything, this prevents Agon.gg team from reaching 80 in 3 lobbies.
yeah,
It's going
for
to make
sure.
it take at least 4 now. So there's a good chance that both teams are going to be pretty close at the end of game 4.
Yeah, agreed. This is definitely looking like at least a 5-game tournament now for sure because of that close lobby. So
Right.
Evelyn 3, by the way, I didn't even realize that's a scary Evelyn. When she hits 3 stars, she becomes really scary.
Oh yeah, for sure. Sunny
Ooh,
Lu versus Grand Vice for the win here.
So Talon is one of the best counters into Zed, by the way, because Talon always targets the person who's done the most damage. And so you saw the Talon just jump on the Zed there and basically assassinate it. So that was cool to see.
Yep, that's going to be Sunny Lou with the win. So we do have a player from Sunny Springs Retirement Home winning lobby number 2. And like we mentioned, that's going to give them a few more points in the grand scheme of things. We're going to take a look at the points breakdown in just a moment for the lobby. But you mentioned earlier that it is a little bit of a wash too, where when you've only got 2 teams competing, if they play a very close series, then functionally the point spread doesn't really change a whole lot. You need to actually get more of a win-win to catch up.
Yeah, the one situation you want to be careful of is like as we hit that game 4, if one team is over the 80 threshold and the other isn't,
Yeah.
that'll be a really pivotal moment because it'll give one team 2 chances versus the other team 1. So that'll be really interesting to see if that plays out. And I think Sunnyside Retirement Home has to do everything in their power to make sure they both cross the threshold at the same time.
Pretty much. Well, scoreboard shows pretty much what we were talking about. It was 27-14 the first round. It was 23-18 the second round. So it is a 5 points of catching up that Sunny Springs Retirement Home was able to do against Agon.gg. Only 8 points behind overall now. But we'll see what happens. We've got a lot of games to go yet today.
Yeah, and as we see, again, I have to stress, like, they're at 37, which is not quite halfway. So Sunnyside Retirement Home really needs to just get a few more points to try to make sure that they either cross that 80 threshold first or at least at the same time, because that'll make a massive difference to have to play from that game deficit if that happens.
Yeah, being one, we should really almost be talking in terms of how many games behind their opponents they're going to be in terms of hitting that threshold rather than just points, honestly, because that's going to be where the big difference is made. Like you mentioned earlier, giving your opponents one more game of tries to hit a first out of their 4 players is a big deal.
Yeah, we've kind of seen, through yesterday and today that like an even round is 20-21, so you can expect a close round to give you about 20, but a dominating performance can give you as high as 30. And so using sort of those numbers, you can see, you need a bit of a dominating performance to hit it in 2 games if you're Sunnyside Retirement Home. Whereas actually on the Agon side, just 2 neutral games for you is going to be pretty good here. So a lot of the pressure right now is on Sunnyside because of that first game performance. So
pretty much. Well, the players have a chance to catch their breath, and so do we. We are going to take a quick break, guys, and when we come back, the next set of games from Mortdog's top 4, Mortdog's 4v4 madness this time around, the grand finals. Don't miss it. More games coming at you right after this.
Yeah, but
Welcome back to Mort Dog's 4v4 Madness, the grand finals. I am DoA. With me is Mort himself, and we have a pretty tight game between our two teams already. Agon.gg in the lead, but Sunny Springs Retirement Home making a little bit of a comeback, a little bit of a catch up in terms of points, but they're going to need a lot more than that.
I actually could have beat GV.
Yeah, I mean, they came back. Agon came out swinging, got that big early lead, but we're seeing already some fighting back, and we kind of expected these two teams to be playing really close to each other. So.
Well, we were talking a little bit during the break too, how it's funny to see the Aphelios builds either dominate or just completely get stomped in these lobbies, and it comes down to a lot of different things. And you made a point that I was kind of interested in, is that you felt like one of the big problems for Souless last game was not having the second GA on the Ahri this time.
Yeah, I think that makes a massive difference because, again, I know I'm a broken record here, but the Aphelios is an exponential curve, and having that Ahri cast that much sooner by being on the front line and having the GA proc, which then gives the Spirit proc and everything like that, means that exponential curve goes even quicker and quicker and quicker and allows you to win a lot of those fights. And you saw the difference there that Souless hit pretty late, didn't have that, and so the comp ended up being a lot weaker, wasn't able to hit the breakpoint on that curve, and kind of ended up getting knocked out. So,
you know, it seems like we've seen Souless be willing to play that Aphelios comp no matter what. No matter what he hits, he's going to go for it. So I wonder if the strategy from Sunny Springs Retirement Home from the other side is going to be from now on that we're just going to have somebody contest it because, you know, hey, maybe we'll hit better and we'll do well. And if not, we're at least going to guarantee or theoretically guarantee that he doesn't. And so maybe you do just kind of like sacrifice one of your players to keep down one of the players that you know they have that's very good at a certain comp. That's an interesting thought going into the next games if they're going to continue to do that. I'm curious to see if they will.
Yeah, and we saw some of this yesterday also, that another strategy was like buy the Aphelios to build a Hunter build to then transition into an Ashe build, so that you're at least, you know, being able to grief the Aphelios player while also still building to a real comp yourself, instead of having to do what Ace did, which was just like hard force the same comp and ended up holding hands 7th, 8th. So we'll see if that, you know, other strategy ends up coming out here.
I like the idea of using the Aphelios to get into an Ashe build a little bit later too, because it seems like such a smoother way of accomplishing everything you want to accomplish. You hold the Aphelios away from the Aphelios player, but you also get a smooth transition, a strong transition to what you're going to do. So we'll have to see what the teams try on board with Sunny Lou once again as we start off with game number 3, and we'll see what the plan is.
I think it's interesting, by the way, and maybe it's just coincidence, but I know Sunny started with Glove last time, which to me, again, could be coincidence, but could also be everyone kind of has their plan and their starting item and their build to go. You know, we've seen Khroen playing the duelist comp pretty much back to back. So did they come in here with like a game plan that like, hey, here's what you're going to do, here's what I'm going to do? Or is it, am I just reading way too much into it? And it's just, he happened to get a glove twice in a row, you know?
It could be, but I think you do raise a valid point in that, you know, if you have different builds that your different teammates are kind of intending to go to if they can, that means you're going to be generally looking for different items in this case. And then you can kind of ensure that you're not fighting with your own teammate over a specific item or something like that. So I don't know if that's what they're doing, but I don't think it's a bad idea if that's what they are.
Yeah. It's interesting watching Sunny a bit. We've seen him at various points across this tournament. And when his team is dominating and winning, he's got a big happy smile on his face, definitely showing that he's having a good time. And right now, being down a few points, I think he's feeling the pressure and feeling the stress. And so we can kind of see that on his face. It's just like really into it right now, really thinking, you know, how are we going to come back from this? How are we going to play this? So,
yeah, time to get serious. Time to ultra sweat into this next one. See what items he gets. Oh, okay, so this is one of those item combinations that you're not super happy with early on because yeah, QSS is a great item, but it's not a great item in the early game.
Yeah, it's actually really bad in the early game, to be frank, because a lot of the fights are lasting usually the 20, 25, even 30 seconds. And you're not seeing a lot of CC from these one-cost units.
Right.
So, yeah, having to slam that, like, you're definitely happy to have these components, but it's just such a waste early on.
Yeah, I mean, on the bright side, I suppose, it's one of those item components that you know is going to be useful later, but you always want to at least wait through the neutral rounds and see what you get. In a lot of cases, when I find myself at the start, I end up waiting, you know, through the carousel to see if I can find something better out of that 4th item. Because right now you've got like Jeweled Gauntlet is maybe what you'd spam or slam rather.
Yeah, I can see the Ionic because Ionic is at least a little bit better in the early game. That
Yeah.
100 or so of damage that it does every time you cast can make or break a lot of the early game fights. But again, slamming an Ionic kind of means you're putting yourself in a magic damage comp. So if you
Mhm.
end up in something like an Ash comp later, that Ionic is pretty wasted.
So Dusk Chosen Vayne in the shop right now, that tends to be one of the chosens that people kind of pass over. Since when you get to those 4 Dusk comps in the late game, a lot of times you'll take out the Vayne. It can still be useful. You can play a sharpshooter package with Jin, as we know, but just feels like people pass over that one a little bit more often.
Yeah, I think we talked about this a bit before that like
Mhm.
buying the Dusk Vein early kind of says, "Hey, I'm going to build Dusk," but because so many of the units come later, you're sort of saying, "I'm hard forcing this," which can backfire really heavily.
Right. I suppose you get the 2 Dusk buff for your team regardless, but on a Vayne, it's just not going to make a big difference because, again, then you think about who are you going to put around the Vayne on the team, and it's not going to be a lot of champions early on that are going to benefit from the Dusk as much. Wow. How
Yeah,
about a free Fiora too?
I do want to call out the difference of approaches here, by the way, as we see, Sunny has the QS components and is holding on to it, being more flexible, being ready to, figure out what his build is going to be. Meanwhile, we saw Souless, who also had the QS components, lock it in. He's basically probably going that Aphelios build again, and
Oh,
he's
yeah.
like, I need the QS. I've got the armor. I'm halfway there. So again, very interesting to see the different approaches here.
He knows he's going to need a QSS, and he doesn't have any other items that he plans on building out of those components. So if you're doing the Aphelios Force, why not?
So Ace getting that's the Mage Annie chosen, not the Fortune one. So
Seems that way, yeah.
yeah, so Annie is a very strong chosen. Getting the extra AP means her shields are even bigger, and it does put Ace one away from 3 Fortune, which is also pretty strong right now. But doesn't really have a lot of the great items to do a mage build.
Mhm.
No tiers right now. So it'll be interesting to see if Ace sticks with that or just uses that to power through the early game.
Yeah, if he can find Fortune along with that early on, then at least you've got a chance of maybe, getting some extra gold from winning or, losing a bit and then finding that payoff a little bit later. Strong start for Sunny Lu, though, finding 2 2-star duelists early on. I mean, you can swap out of this eventually, but it's going to be good just to have these 2 duelists in the front line.
Yeah, 2 duelists early at 2-star is a really strong thing that'll get you through stage 2 pretty handily. Um, he is in 8th right now, but I kind of expect that to stop here. The only thing that can really slow this down is if you get stuck on like a 2 Vanguard comp.
Yeah.
A 2 Vanguard comp can really mess with you. So
I think if nothing else, and he's checking to see which Annie that is, I think if nothing else, at least you've got a board now that isn't going to be losing 100% every round. Like you should at least get a kill or two with like
yeah,
a Zed and two duelists and the Yumi and they're buffing people.
yeah, exactly. And sure enough, we're stuck on a 2-star Garen and a 2-star Wukong. So kind of the
Yep.
weakness, unfortunately, for Sunny, and he kind of gets wrecked here.
Yeah, it
Uh,
takes out 2 of the 4, so saves a couple HP at least. But yeah,
yeah,
that is a nightmare,
yeah.
like you're talking
Uh,
about.
I do want to call out. We saw, Ace take the mage version of Annie. We are seeing a lot right now in high level play. If you can get the Fortune Tom Kench or the Fortune Annie, that having that early access to 3 Fortune seems to be really worth. So we're actually seeing a lot of players, if they see those, heavily prioritize that now.
Right. Well, here's our first carousel. 2-4. Well, our first carousel after the game began anyway. See what Sunny Lu is grabbing. It always feels like the first carousel to me because the other stuff just feels like pregame, But
Yeah.
technically, it's the second.
Now, what's interesting is Sunny has the Ginsu's and QS items now as well. So pretty good build there. Souless now has 4 out of the 6 components he needs. He needs a bow and a sword now, so we'll be keeping an eye on that. Um, but yeah, so I'm wondering if Sunny's going to end up in something like Shade, because these could be pretty good Zed items.
Yeah,
But
true.
not having the RFC might also be a little too soon to lock that in.
Yeah, he's still in that kind of situation where you almost just want to keep waiting. I mean, I guess you could think about Talon, where you've got the Fiora right now. You've got a chance to build a Last Whisper, but we'll check back in with him later. Kitingishard is the player we're going to take a look at right now from Team Agon.gg, putting some items on the Callista early. And he's got that nice 2 keeper, 3 cultist package where this is going to be pretty tanky, but if Callista is left to her own devices, it's going to be a good amount of damage as well.
Yeah, Kalissa does struggle a bit at 1 star because she's only getting 3% per sphere as opposed to the 5%. So it's a little bit harder to play the Callista there, but having the keeper frontline, the early Galio should buy enough time for this to do pretty well.
Yeah.
The other thing I'll call it is Callista without Duelist doesn't quite ramp up as much as you would expect. But again, Cultist Keeper is just such a strong comp still in the early game. We do see a win here. So
Right. I mean, with any carry in the early game, it's just all about creating a front line that lasts long enough to give your carries time to do damage. Because, like you mentioned, they're going to be doing damage a lot slower. You know, Callista has less damage. You won't be ramping up a duelist, like you mentioned. So I like putting all the keepers down there, keeping everything bunched up. So it walks forward a little bit, but you've got the shield, you've got the Galio. It's going to give Callista plenty of time.
So I have to call out there, Souless just hit a chosen Aphelios again. He hit it in 2-6.
Wow.
And definitely got some pings there. So Souless definitely hitting what he wants to this tournament. So we'll have to see if he can convert that. But having the 2-star Moonlights already, he's got to be feeling real good about that.
I would say so. And that, I believe it's another Hunter one because he does still have 3 Moonlight in there.
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah, you can see he even sold the other Aphelios to move the items so that he'd have that ready to go. But yeah, he's got to be feeling real good about this. And this might be one of the versions where we see Aphelios pop off.
Oh, yeah.
It's going to be very difficult to contest him right now. At this point, you kind of either want to stop him from getting the items he needs or just pray he doesn't hit all the other stuff. But it can be really expensive to try to buy all the Moonlight units and contest that. So,
right. Looks like Kiting is going to swap over to the Yasuo right now. It gives him the chance to sell that Diana to make gold if he needs to. That's kind of the big story there.
Yeah, and I think that's a really good move, especially now that he knows Souless has kind of already hit some stuff.
Right.
But you'll see, like, he has a tough decision. Do I hold those to try to prevent Souless from hitting? Actually, Souless is his teammate. What am I talking about? He should definitely sell that.
Inter-team disagreements. But yeah, I think he should too. If nothing else, just to hit that 30 gold mark as well.
Yeah, but see, like here he's holding it so that he can level and actually be able to. Yeah, see now he didn't have to sell it and he can keep it on his board on the team. So the good move there.
Very true. Oh, being a good team player though, he's going to sell it anyway to give those back into the pool for Souless.
True.
What a guy. Well, I've got 3 duelists in there with cultists, so it looks like the plan may be to transition from cultist into duelist as the game goes on. He's still a little bit slim as far as total item components goes. He's probably due for a pretty big payoff with wolves down the line. But for now, you know, he can still keep riding this fairly stable backbone of having Galio come in and having the duelist just attack faster.
Yeah, I also think there's a version where you could even run 6 cultists and like 2 or 4 duelists here in the late game.
Yeah,
but this is definitely feeling like a Callista comp. So we'll have to see what kind of items he can get on the Callista.
Yeah. That's one of those things too, where she's going to be useful in duelist and in cultist. So you can just keep prioritizing the itemization for her as well. Looks like he may be in a little bit of trouble with this round though. Took him a while to get the Galio. Can he finish? Oh, that card was so big. If that card had hit the Elise, things might have went the other way. Looks like
the Elise
will go the other way anyway. Yeah.
Elite battles are always funny because they're just healing each other while they hit each other. This might actually end in a draw.
It doesn't look like the health is really moving too much.
I think it's going to end in a draw, and I think they're both going to take damage.
Oh, no. Yep. Check W. Oh,
yep. Good times.
Yep. Hey, at least you're still doing damage to the other team, right?
True. Very
in
true.
some way. Well,
yeah, he's got the Thresh going for the shields. That's going to feel pretty good. Agon on a win streak right now, so kind of the opposite of what we saw of game 1.
Yeah, he can play it both ways. He can capitalize on the win streaks, or he can know into loss streak. I feel like he has been sort of like changing over time as a player that is more open to hitting win streaks and following that line of play rather than just going for the big loss streaks every single game like we used to see earlier in the year.
Yeah. So it seems like we switched over to Tabzz, and Tabzz is sort of playing a very similar comp to Kiting with the Cultist Keeper, but instead of the Callista, he's banking more right now on the TF to carry him through the early game. So
Right. And that can be a little bit tricky because the TF either hits really well with the cards or he doesn't hit. It's another version of just hit. And you never know what's going to happen really with that TF. Sunfire
true.
Cape on the other side, though, from Khroen. Is it going to make the difference? Not really.
Nope.
I mean, Aurelia, too. Aurelia chosen with Giant Slayer is just a really, really strong mid-game unit to be relying on if you're Khroen, too.
Yeah. Now getting the Evelyn should help a bit. We talked about this last game where like having the Evelyn can be that extra spike that finishes off a lot of units and can be a lot of extra damage.
Right.
So we'll see how long he sticks into it. But on a 4-game loss streak right now, so probably kind of wants to keep losing to retain that loss streak right now.
Yeah, I mean, you've got 84 HP. I mean, this is kind of the best time to have a loss streak like this, where you can just make the gold and not be super concerned about your hit points.
Exactly. And, this is one of those things where you keep that gold, you keep that economy high, and you can end up in somewhere in the neighborhood of like, an early level 7 with a lot of gold to roll down and get a better chosen. Because
Yeah.
most of the time you don't stick with the Elise chosen. So,
And if you manage to lose this round, you get yourself perhaps one slot better in terms of carousel priority.
yep.
So I think Tabzz is actually really hoping he loses this one. Although, oh wow, he actually puts the belt on the Jarvan to try to win it. Looks like he will.
Hmm.
Interesting. Because I'm surprised. I would have preferred to take the loss streak into the carousel round. Huh.
Yeah, I'm a little surprised by that one as well. Although, to be honest, I don't think the belt made that big a difference. But definitely, it's like, why are you playing that aggressively? I'm not really sure.
Yeah, just the
why.
fact that he did it is
Yeah.
just a little bit surprising to me. Well, 4 tiers on this carousel. All right.
So
Is anyone playing the mage build right now? I don't think I've seen anyone going for it at the moment. I guess we had that player with Annie. I'm trying to remember who that was earlier, but I don't know if they're still using it or not.
gotcha.
Nobody going for the tiers. Kiting reluctantly grabs one in the end.
Gotcha. Someone called out, by the way, that Ace is on a fortune loss streak right now. So by beating Ace that round, he extended the fortune loss streak. So I think if that's the case, that is definitely the right play.
Okay.
Especially because Ace has a decent chunk of health. So getting as big of a fortune loss streak as he can before he has to cash in, I think is going to be really good here.
All right. That makes a lot more sense. Yeah, to keep your teammates' fortune loss streak going like that. That's just good teamwork then in that case.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the interesting things about this format, right? Is like you have to
Right.
play a little differently than you would on solo queue. And while selfishly he might have wanted to lose that fight, in the grand scheme of things, winning that fight was better for the team overall. And it's been really cool to see those kind of interesting decisions be added to TFT that players aren't usually used to. So
Yeah, well, it's something that casters aren't used to either, too. We're still it's hard to break out of that mentality of like what's good for the player that you're watching, but now you got to think about the team as well.
yeah, even I'm definitely struggling with that a bit. It's not like I've done a lot of team tournaments myself or anything like that. So
Yeah,
definitely interesting to see.
it's fun. It's cool to see the newer dynamic with it. Grand Vice delivering a little bit of pain to Tabzz there.
Yeah. Now Souless is, he's got basically his comp going, so he's at 73 health. So we'll have to keep an eye on that. Khroen seems to be struggling a bit right now at 59. And then the other thing I'm just going to keep watching out for is Ace when he finally does win. We'll want to check in and see what that payout looks like. So
Yeah, we'll keep an eye on that. So speaking of payouts, it's 3 fortune for Agon. So he's been using this to just get a little bit of gold each round. It's usually like 2 or 3 gold on a win for fortune right now, I believe. On a 3 fortune anyway.
yeah, so right now at 0 losses, it's even it's an average of a 3 gold payout. And so just running an early fortune like this is a lot of extra economy right now. That's why we called this out earlier. He has the Fortune Annie here.
Yeah.
And getting that is just so much extra gold early that I think Agon's got to be really happy with all the extra money coming in. And even if he loses, he doesn't feel bad because that just means more money later.
Yeah, I've always said this where it's like I love 3 fortune right now because even without the loss streak, it's still basically like a good 2 space pirate round every win. Gonna get a win over Khroen there. But yeah, that extra gold really does add up. Hit that early level 7. He's got a good amount of gold towards a level 8 now.
Yeah, the fact that he's already 7 at 3-7 bodes really well because typically this is where you see a lot of people transition into 7.
Yeah.
So it's got to feel pretty good.
So what's the plan going to be? Well, he seems like he's also due for a good amount of item components here. I guess he does have a pretty high amount of tanky items on that Tom Kench. But as far as the other items goes, is he going to go mage direction? Is he going to go Ash direction? I would guess Ash, but we'll see what the items tell us. Okay, it's Ash. Yep.
Those are definitely looking like Ash items for sure.
I would say so.
Yeah, I kind of expect this to be where he sells the Annie and starts to roll down, but we'll see if that actually ends up being the play. He's got enough health that he can still greed it out all the way to 8.
Yeah,
But
honestly, you could just keep going for a while with this. Why not? The longer you can keep the fortune on the board and earning you money, the better.
yeah, and especially because then at 8 he will have the slightly increased chance of getting, the ashes, the Aries, the things he wants, and even rolling for a chosen at 8 versus 7, the odds of getting a 4-cost chosen are increased pretty dramatically.
Right.
So that's usually good to do if you can.
Yeah. It's definitely one of the best case scenarios where you can put yourself in a position to get that ultra strong chosen late.
I know with the patch, we just had the change to level 8 roll odds where it became a little less beneficial to go to 8 from the base unit. So a lot of people have been saying, oh, well, now there's no point to leveling up to 8. But with chosen as well, I still think it's worth it to level up to 8 if you can afford it. Because again, that's more 4-costs, more 4-cost chosens, and that's a lot more power. So if you can afford it, it's definitely still worth.
And also just the access that you get to the 5 costs as well. I think the strength of an individual 5 cost when you look at a Yone or a Kane or something like that right now definitely makes it worth it in my mind to go to 8 if you can.
Yeah, that's totally true. Or even get like a set for your brawler comp. Yeah, there's so many. You're right. There's so many of those that you can get, and the odds go from 1% to 6%. So that's a massive increase as well. Yeah, I agree with you. So if you can get to 8, which Agon's showing, again, he's at 91 health at 4-2. That's got to feel good. So yeah.
Oh, he'll definitely get the 8. I would be surprised if this is going to be a level 9 game too, depending on how long it takes him to hit what he needs to hit with the roll down.
So looking at Souless's board right now, he did hit pretty early, but he is still missing, it looks like, 4 Aphelioses, 1 Diana, and 4 Lysandras. So he's still got a ways to go. He's level 5. If he doesn't start hitting soon, this could be another fast 8 for Souless.
Might be. He took a lot of damage from Agon right now, and that is kind of the bummer when your teammate takes a big chunk out of your life total like that. Meanwhile, Khroen down in 8th actually did manage to win that round. So he's got a board that's at least semi-competitive with some of the other players. We're going to take a look at AceofSpaces, though, for now, who is right in the middle of the pack here at 3rd place. A little bit on the high end of that. Going for the mage build.
So this is the build I've got a lot of experience with. This is a very powerful build. If he can get a Bramble on that Annie, that will buy so much time. That is a really cool thing to see. Also, if he can 3-star that Annie, that'll also make a massive difference.
Yeah.
He needs to 2-star the Veigar, but has really good Veigar items. So yeah, this is the starts of a good build. The one thing he has to be careful for, though, is like his positioning there. Veigar just got pulled in by Aatrox. That'll probably decide the round. This is a build that's very volatile. You have to position correctly, because if you get hit by anything counter like that, like the Aatrox, it's over for you. So.
Right. And this is about the time in the game where you have to really start looking out for the Aatroxes. It's kind of like the reverse Blitzcrank meta of the last set, where early game you had to be really worried about the Blitzcrank, and now in the late game, here mid to late game, is when you have to start worrying about your side units getting pulled in.
Yeah, exactly. And I think a lot of players actually still haven't really figured out with the various comps how to position against that Aatrox. Even with the Veigar, for example, I still see a lot of people doing the back corner thing. Right. But that does mean all those mages have to move forward because they only have 660 range. So I'm not sure that's the best positioning either. Whereas if you move that Veigar up a spot, you don't have to worry about him moving to auto attack. So very interesting to see as people learn the dynamics of the set, because it's still pretty early in the set. So
seems like the best Veigar positioning I've seen right now is in the second second row from the back on the left all the way. So you're still tucked away. You can kind of fit some units around him, but he still is close enough to do some damage. Now, with that Annie, AceofSpaces had a chance to pick up the second chain vest and build the Bramble on the carousel, but he opted to go with the Titan's Resolve instead. I think that kind of surprising.
It's not that surprising, to be honest. Bramble is one way to go, but this is another very powerful version, because when you get that thing fully stacked, you get just as much, if not more, defenses from the Bramble. And your Annie is doing 50% more damage. And so those attacks, like you can see there, it starts to hit pretty hard. It doesn't amplify the shield any, but the shield's already pretty big anyway. So this is also a good viable build. The only thing is, if somebody were to build, say, a Jeweled Gauntlet Annie or a Jeweled, like a crit Jin, those would kind of be Annie's weaknesses with this build.
Right.
But thankfully, there don't seem to be a lot of that in the lobby, and so this will end up pretty powerful.
Yeah, looks like Andy's finally going to go down. So it didn't end up being the worst loss ever. Pretty tanky items for Khroen's Ribbon there on the other side, too. That's going to be scary as the game goes on. And Khroen has started to win his way out of the bottom of the lobby, too, right now.
Yeah, by the way, it's interesting. Ace right now is holding an Aphelios to try to grief Souless, and he
Yep.
has one in the shop, and that's what he's actually struggling with this decision right now. He's like, ugh, do I have to sell something to hold this Aphelios, or can I skip past it? Am I holding enough right now? So
Holding a whole Aphelios, too, is already pretty significant, I'd say. So he goes ahead and does the swap anyway. Finds the RE2. That's kind of nice early on. And that Zillion is really tempting, at least for me. It's always tempting for me. But you look at like, does the spirit buff help you out that much in this composition? I'd be considering replacing that Janna or the Yumi.
yeah,
Probably
I
the Janna.
agree. I think Zillion is really good for this comp, especially if you can get the ult on like the Veigar.
Yeah.
That can be really big. Or the other big one is if you can get a Mage Spatula and run
Right.
Mage Zillion, that's enormous. So
Yeah. Well, Zillion just in general ramps up so fast with items. Like one Shojin's on Zillion or a blue buff or anything mana wise, mage buff, like you said, mage cap, just makes him exponentially better, it feels like.
yeah. So I know Souless is getting close, but I always have to look out and see if he's winning his rounds. He did win his last round. He did just hit RE2. So, 35 health isn't that bad a state to be in for that build. So
Right.
we'll have to see if he can turn it around here.
So we've made it all the way to Raptors. 35 health at Raptors is, something you can come back from. We will see though.
Yeah. But as we're seeing, like Ace is holding an Aphelios. Apparently Tabzz is holding a Lissandra. So they're doing their best to try to slow him down. So
Yeah, as you do for sure. So finds a sword out of the neutral rounds. Gets a Yumi too. All right. All the more important to put the Zillion in over the Janna.
So Yumi is really good for this build, by the way, because the Annie is giving him the ability to like put the shields up, and then the Yumi can heal the Annie back, which will allow him to continually reshield or her to reshield, and so that'll be pretty good. I do like the Yumi choice here. That's a great choice.
So Souless says, "I am inevitable" in chat, which people would think is a reference to Thanos being threatening, but it's actually a reference to Thanos saying perfectly balanced in every way, meaning that you'll either first or eighth with the Aphelios comp.
You like to see it.
Yeah.
He's still missing the Lissandra, I think, so I don't think he's quite there yet, but
Yeah, perfectly balanced, like I said. Damage from Agon onto Ace of Spades there. Agon does have that Ash 2 online pretty quickly. And with the Ginsus and the Infinity Edge, it's going to be a pretty high damage carry already at this point in the game. We're going to swap things over to Grand Vice. Wow, another Philios on the bench there. And Grand Vice with the Warlord build, buffing up the Assassins a little bit, the Katarina carry. This is a build that I think has felt solidly like A minus B plus tier for a while in TFT. I like running it when I get the opportunity, and it generally performs pretty well. It's just I think just a decent board.
I think this is another example of a build that people are still struggling to figure out how to play. Do you play around the Zhenjiao? Do you play around the Katarina? If you are playing around the Katarina, it feels like you have very specific item requirements. A lot of people feel like she absolutely need, but say like as you see there, Katarina in this comp can be massive if you have the right items. And QS has become sort of a must go, so she doesn't get interrupted. Oftentimes people go Gunblade, but Hodge is a good alternative. So yeah, I think it's people just trying to figure out how to play this build. Now, hitting the Azir here is really nice because with Azir and Jarvan, you get the Keeper for free, and that's really nice. So
he's just going to put out a couple Sand Soldiers to distract there, it looks like. And if you're not...
3-star 3-star Akali.
No kidding. It's Assassin, Akali, so you've got that extra little buff for Katarina as well.
Oof.
And I kind of wonder if he's gonna possibly sell that Katarina at some point. She's super strong, but you might want to put a little bit more into some of your other champions if you've got that Akali 3 now. Although, oh man, without items, that Akali 3 does drop fast against a board like Sunny Lu has here.
Yeah, I mean, Talon is definitely the better assassin than Akali. So
Yeah.
those, especially look at those Talon items; those things are going to hurt.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, the Akali especially really needs like the blue buff and the RFC to be as functional. And without that right now, she's just kind of a high HP extra assassin. She's not
Right.
really carrying the comp. I still think Katarina is the primary carry in this comp.
I always get nervous when I see a Katarina without GA because there's so many times where she'll just get blown up when she jumps into the back line. Even with the QSS, it's you see plenty of rounds where she doesn't get the cast off. It's a little bit too late. I think it's probably a little bit too late to dedicate to assassins here. We did see that build from Loco Doco yesterday where he took an Akali 3 all the way to second place, but don't know if Grand Vice is going to be able to do the same thing here.
Yeah, again, without the items on the Akali, I think that's going to be a struggle here. I think if there was a way to get in for Assassin, that would also be a big boost here. But I just don't see how that's going to happen right now. So
Right. Very true. Waiting to see what he rolls down to, finding a little bit. Katarina 3 is another big out, and he's only 2 away from that now. 1
ooh,
away
one
now.
away. Yeah. So this Katarina 3, oh, there it is. He's
Oh,
got
yeah,
it.
he's got the
So
Nikos. Yeah.
this is a big boost because now Katarina has enough damage without the damage items.
Mhm.
And it makes if you get the healing roll on Hodge, you get a lot of extra healing. So this is pretty big.
Yeah. This
All right.
changes quite a bit. Oh, the Zephyr onto the Akali, though. Solus has the Aphelios 4. He is
Yeah,
inevitable.
Souless is fully online. He's got the GA on Ari. But actually, we see the assassin comp doing work here.
Yep. Katarina took down the first HP, and then Akali was there to get him after the QSS popped.
Yeah, and that was
Worked out
actually
pretty
with
well.
bad positioning too. So really
Interesting.
nice to see because otherwise you'd want the assassins on the Aphelios right away.
Mhm.
So that was good. Solus
You
might
know,
not be long for this world.
part of it too is when you run into like an Azir, sometimes those turrets target the sand soldiers, waste a lot of damage that isn't going into your opponent's actual champions.
Yep.
Yep. Tabzz, meanwhile, though, Tabzz out in 8th from Sunny Springs retirement home. They've got to be sweating a little bit because Ace of Spades and Khroen all in that bottom 4. So another game where they take 3 out of the bottom 4 spots, and it's starting to look really good for Agon.gg in the tournament.
Yeah. Now, this particular time, you see that Grand Vice got the healing roll on the Katarina. So this should be really good when she gets that cast off. She'll go right back to full health because
Mhm.
there's so much base damage. So this is a good roll for the Katarina. And you can see just full health there. That's how you play a Katarina comp. That's really cool to see. And
That is,
unfortunately, that's going to be the end of Ace. So,
I was gonna say that's also how you eliminate one of your teammates too. It
yep.
looks like
Yep.
Ace of Spades out in, is it 7th or is it 6th? Did he manage to sneak up?
Seventh.
No. Yep, 7th. And now Khroen, 8 HP on the verge of elimination as well. So we might have 3 out of the 4 for Sunny Spring Retirement Home down in the bottom 4, which would be pretty disastrous.
Yeah, that'd be really bad here. Because again, we talked about that they're the team that's behind right now, and so
Mhm.
being that far behind again would probably mean they're going to be that one game behind, which kind of spells disaster unless they can pull it out. So
Right. Sunny Lu running the Enlightened build, I believe I saw when Khroen was doing a bit of scouting.
yeah,
See how that goes. Rift Herald or Blue Buff guy or whatever it is gives the Frozen Heart over to Khroen, it looks like. What is the name of that one? It just says Nexus Minion, I think, now.
yeah, it's the Nexus Blitz, Nexus basically. So that's where we pulled it from anyway.
Right.
Being at 5 dusk has got to be a little frustrating here. If he could find the Lilia, would be such a massive boost to his team.
Yeah,
But
seriously.
just unable to find that, so that's a little unfortunate. So
Yeah, it is always a bummer. When you have that Dusk Chosen Thresh, you're feeling really good about being able to go late game with Dusk, but not being able to find the Spatula or the Lilia is kind of tragic.
yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Generally, you can find one or the other, at least in my experience. I probably played Dusk more than any other comp in set 4 so far.
Oof. And yeah, as we see here,
Aphelios?
Souless is online though, but here we see. I
Not
still
for
think
long.
Souless is going to win this. Yep.
Yeah, he may.
Whee!
In though, one more shot. Oh, it
Oh
was so
no,
close.
they didn't even
Yeah.
proc the GA on the Aphelios, so
Well, that is the end of Khroen. And so the bottom three, all from Sunny Lu's teammates here. Rough spot for him. And now Sunny Lu dropping into second. So there's still a chance, especially with Souless being the least HP on his team, that Agon.gg could just claim all 4 spots in the top 4.
yeah, that's certainly what they'd be really happy with that result,
Oh,
because
yeah.
that would pretty much guarantee them the one extra game to try to take home the tournament. Sunny, I think, has got to be really pushing for that first place to try to at least salvage this into, Agon getting a 2-3-4-5 as opposed to, a 1-2-3-4. There's a pretty massive difference there. So
Yeah, you have to. No doubt. Sunny Lu going up against the ghost of Grand Vice, I believe it is, with this Warlord build.
yeah, he does have hope with that Talon because that Talon is quite scary, but that Katarina,
Ooh.
oof.
Yeah, when you hit Katarina 3, she just destroyed so much of the enemy team just at once that it's hard to come back.
Yep. Between the Katarina 3 and the Akali 3, there's a lot of assassination damage there. So
Right. Ended up being a pretty close round, but Sunny Lu still can't win it.
everyone from Agon.gg still alive right now. So a lot of people gunning for him. And
Yeah.
Souless also looking to at least probably turn this into a third or second based on where he's at right now. So
Definitely seems that way. Grand Vice getting a lot stronger right there with the Sejuani too. Definitely going to buff the front line quite a bit. And Aatrox too as well. Wow. All right. So getting a very beefy set of Vanguards online now.
oof. Yeah, I really like this Talon build, but it's a little volatile if it gets stuck on something. But here it's right on the Ash, so that's got to feel good.
Yep. Gets to finish with the Talon.
Ooh, then kills the Kayn, gets on the Ezreal.
This round is looking a little bit better. Got to worry about the Warwick in the back a little bit there, but this Talon is starting to look a little bit unkillable.
Yeah, I
Just
think
got
the
to
big worry
survive.
here is actually the set. The set coming back at full health with the Sunfire. I think
Oh,
the set might still win this. Nope. Oof,
oh,
close.
wow. One
Really
last
close.
that last ability usage, you get that little bit of extra HP with the Bloodthirster did it. But yeah, that was very close. I thought he was actually going to die when he was fighting the Brawlers because it was just taking too long to get another reset.
Yeah. Souless knocked out in 5th, by the way, so
All right. So that is at least one player in the top 4 that Sunny Spring Retirement Home is going to have in the form of Sunny Lu.
yeah, like I said, I think he's really got to be hoping for that first place, though. But I will say, Grand Vice's comp right now seems like the scariest out of the bunch. So
Yeah. I'm kind of wondering, like, does he want to find like a Nami to go up to 6 Enlightened? Or, is nothing on this board really worth taking out to hit that?
I don't think you take anything out here because the only thing you could take out would be the Kayn,
Yeah.
and he
And
just
you
2-starred
definitely
the
don't do it
Kayn.
now.
So
Yeah. Now it stays. Yeah, for sure. It's going to be very strong Kane. Oh, items.
he's making sure he doesn't put him on the wrong thing as they transition in. So
Yep. Don't want to take that risk.
also having the
Uh,
2 Morellos is a little disappointing because you've already got one on the Morgana, but
right.
oh,
Well,
and
at least
that's
you guarantee you're going to hit everybody at least.
yeah. Kane's still alive though. I think he wins this.
Now it's looking pretty good. Yeah, Kane getting a lot of health. Back from
Yeah, I
everything.
think he's okay here.
This 2-star set, though. What does he got to say
He's
about
got the
this?
Dragon's Claw on the Kayn. I don't see how he loses this. So
Yep. Got it down to the Void Minion. So that is Kitingishard eliminated in 3rd, it looks like. So that means that Sunny Lu still has a chance to get that first place. And they need it, like we mentioned. They're going to need all the points they can get after this game with a 3 in the bottom 4.
yeah, that'll at least salvage them to have a chance to break through the 80 threshold at the same time, at least.
Mhm.
It seems very unlikely that Agon.gg doesn't hit the 80 after next game, but we'll have to check the scores to be 100% sure.
Right. So who is Sunny Lu going to play here? He's got, I think, a pretty equal chance to play either one because Kiting dropped out last round.
Yep.
Gonna run
Oh,
into Grand
good
Vice.
Shroud.
Oh yeah, it is actually.
Oh,
Yeah.
it didn't quite hit the Katarina though. If he'd hit the Katarina, that would have been huge.
Oh, interesting. Huh. Thought that was
He
going
hit the
to.
Akali, but not the Katarina. So
That doesn't slow things down too much. Katarina
yeah.
doing quite a bit of damage. Yep. might be the end of the story unless Kane can pop off right here.
I don't think so.
Not quite. Maybe Red Kane could have done it, but certainly not Blue Kane. And that's Sunny Lu out in third. Agon waiting to see if he can
It
defeat
might be
the
second.
Ghost. It is. Yeah, it is. Agon with the lower HP total at the end. So at least Sunny Lu comes out with the second, but it is another victory for Agon.gg. They are going to pull farther ahead in the standings, get themselves, like you mentioned, pretty much in a spot to hit 80 points in the next game.
Yeah, I think at this point, again, we'll check the scores, but Agon GG's got to be happy with that result
Oh,
because
yeah.
they probably have a ton of points, which means next game they can almost like just try to dominate. Their whole goal next game should be make sure that the enemy team does not hit 80 points, and we do. And as long as they do that, then I think, we're seeing a very strong finish here for Agon.gg. It's not locked in at all because they still have to win that last game. If they go 2-3-4-5, it doesn't matter that game 5, right? They have to win, and so that's going to change things a little bit.
Yeah, pretty much. I suppose the big benefit is that you have 4 out of the 8 players on the in the game that can win it for you. So you've got that 50% chance, we'll say, of taking it.
Exactly.
We'll be able to take a look at the points in just a second to see where the 2 teams stack up against each other as soon as we've got that all calculated. But it's a do or die time. It kind of feels like for Sunny Springs Retirement Home as far as next game goes. They really need to come into game 4 with a plan to get all 4 top spots. Otherwise, it's going to be really tough to catch up.
Yeah, like I said, judging from the points, like they're gonna really need like a 1-2-3-4 or as close to that as they can get to be able to hit
Yeah.
that 80 mark. And even with that, because I think we saw the lowest you can get is 10 points. So we'll see with the scoreboard coming up here.
Mhm.
If that 10 points, yeah, so they're already at 72, which means Agon GG is basically guaranteed to hit 80. So
Right. It seems mathematically impossible that they wouldn't. But meanwhile, the other side of things, Sunny Springs Retirement Home, only 51 points. So there's still a good chance that they may not even hit 80 after the next game, right? Because I
yeah,
think
I
you
think
would
that's pretty
need,
likely. You'd need, like I said,
yeah.
basically first, second, third, fifth is probably your best option. Because we saw yesterday the highest score was like 31,
Mhm.
and 31 would get them barely over the edge. So 31, 30, or 29. It's going to be really hard for Sunny Springs to come back, but it is still possible, and they should still be fighting for it. But even if they don't, we know for sure game 5 they'll cross the threshold. So we know this is going to game 6. It's just a question of can they make sure that they win first place game 5 and 6. That's the other way Sunny Spring can come back from this.
Right. That's the hope anyway. Agon.gg with the chance to end it in 5 games. But first, we're going to need to get through game number 4. So let's go over Aphelios Watch 2020 and talk about his role in that last game. It wasn't really top and it wasn't really bottom. That one ended up being kind of like middling results for the Aphelios.
Yeah, although I think you can actually call that a pretty big win for Agon.gg because even though Souless got 5th himself,
Mhm.
all the players that were having to grief the units ended up being that 6, 7, 8.
True.
So I think that's a pretty big win. So they have to be happy with that result, to be honest.
Yeah, ultimately, when you are griefing some of those units, do hurt your economy slightly in cases. I don't think any player is going to hold a unit when it would actually cost them an interest gold, but over time that can kind of build up. 3 gold here, 3 gold there. That is on your bench in the form of an Aphelios. We
Yeah.
will see. On board with Agon as we start game number 4, the game where they should be able to mathematically hit 80 points and put them in position to win the entire tournament. The game after this.
Yep. Their goal this game, like I said, is basically just prevent a 1-2-3-4. So
Right.
this game should be the least stressful game for Agon.gg, but also kind of the most stressful for Sunnyside Retirement Home because Sunny Springs Retirement Home. But
Mhm.
if they can get 1-2-3-4, they come right back into it. But otherwise, they have that whole game deficit, and that's going to be a big struggle.
Good start for Agon, though, finding that Brawler Maokai. Brawler Chosen is just such a strong chosen builder on the early game because you basically just get a Maokai with a ton of extra HP, even if you don't have any other brawlers on the board. So,
Yeah, that's a big Maokai. And then a really fun start here is just if you can get the Tom Kenshin, like the Vi or the Silas, having
yeah.
a 4 brawler at level 3 pretty much unbeatable.
Yeah, there's nothing that really does enough damage to go through that, and then you add to that Maokai himself actually does a pretty good amount of damage, and you're in good shape. Hmm.
Hmm.
Couple Lulus. So, if you're Agon, maybe you're starting to think a little bit about mages here. You've got a Hextech Gunblade on the bench in terms of the sword and the rod. So we'll see. Four
Khroen
brawlers.
also had
Speaking
a
of,
chosen Maokai, so
yeah, he's got the four brawler online already. Actually. Meanwhile, Moonlight Chosen. Who was that for? I didn't see. Oh, Sunny Lou. I
I
don't
don't
know.
know.
Who knows? It's like the bat signal.
uh,
Finds the gloves. All right. And I like this. Picking up the two Lulus. Yeah, I think he's kind of thinking mage this game.
I guess Souless has hit a Moonlight chosen, so that's what the reaction was.
Oh. Well, you play enough games and eventually you're going to hit it anyway, right?
Yep, yep.
Law of averages says you're going to see it at some point.
Yeah, it's just a question of when and how quickly. So,
Yep, more or less.
oof.
So, right now, Agon just kind of waiting to see if he can turn any of those pairs into another 2-star. That would help out quite a bit. Going up against a 4-brawler Khroen, who did hit that early Silas and the early Tom Kench. So a lot of HP to burn with when those Maokais are pretty equal. But the Lulus are going to add more HP. So it's just like the battle of adding HP this time around.
Yeah, there's a world where actually Agon wins this just because of the CC, but doesn't look like it actually, especially
No.
because the Silas hit the Lulu, slowing down that cast. So,
Yeah. Slowing down the Maokai as well. So it's going to reduce a lot of that area of effect damage that the Maokai is going to be doing to the other brawlers. So
yeah,
Agon,
four brawler is so much health to burn through. So,
yeah, Agon takes a loss, puts in a little bit more CC in terms of the Nami. Yeah.
yeah,
And then he
it's
just,
interesting. Like you said, he's got the Gunblade already, so he could be going mage. We'll be interested to see if he sticks with that or transitions off of it. So,
yeah, decides to put in the Teemo just because in the early rounds, I actually really like this by Agon because in the early rounds, Teemo's going to have time to cast and getting like one blind. It's kind of like how Graves was in a set 3. In the early game, those blinds are just so important in terms of outlasting your opponent.
yeah, and they do a lot of damage over time.
Right.
So yeah, they definitely can make a difference. I certainly think it makes more of a difference than a single 1-star Lulu. But in the end, it didn't really matter here. Going to
Right.
take some more health. But again, I will say it's fine for him to lose a bit here, just because it means carousel priority. And if he is going to go that Vigar build, getting those tiers is going to be really important because it is one of the more item dependent comps. So
Right.
getting that carousel priority can make a big difference here.
Yeah, at this point, you think he would almost just be putting in a board that feels pretty decent, but at the same time puts him in his position to lose, and that's kind of okay.
Yeah, for sure. And again, it's also the kind of thing where locking a build this early can come to bite you. So hopefully he can get those items he's looking for.
Right. Now, this start as well is a very good medium start. It's not very strong, but it's not like the weakest board in the world either. So you're, pretty much counting on killing a couple of their units, but then losing by a little bit. But that's not the strongest board over on. I guess it is the Warlord buff for Grand Vice, so it's not that bad. Man, it's just chosen Maokai Day apparently. 3
Everyone's
people.
got Maokais.
The question is that the Brawler or the Elderwood one? I would guess it's probably the Elderwood one actually.
I've never seen it yet, but theoretically it is possible for all 8 players to have the same 1 cost chosen. I would love to see one of those kind of games. So,
I've seen it
ooh,
where.
oh wow,
Oh, huh.
swung out the wind there.
All right. Well, there's a gold at least. Onto the carousel. Agon finds himself second pick. So the item that Agon picks up is going to be very telling as far as what he's thinking.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah. If he goes for the tier, thinking mage. He's thinking about it. Yeah. Got to make a call. You could also grab the gloves. Oh, and he grabs the belt. Huh. Belt.
I'm very curious why you grabbed the belt. The only thing I
Yeah.
could think of is you're going to go an enlightened build, and you're going to go Morgana with the Morello, and you've got the IE for Talon.
I
But
mean, he does have the Nami too, so that's an enlightened on his board already, I guess. But I am wondering what he's got in mind with his belt. He's so close to another neutral round too. He could just be waiting to see what he sees. But no, he's
locks
actually
it
going to go
in.
Morello's. Oh, all right. You know, that is really interesting.
Like I
So
said,
he,
this feels like an enlightened late game, right? Because
yeah.
Morgana is basically the best Morello user late game. He's got the Nami, as you said.
Mhm.
Maybe he's talking with his teammate and saying, "Hey, I'm going to be the one to go to Talon this game." But otherwise, not sure on that one.
Yeah, the Maokai is a great holder for the Morellos, but he's got to be thinking about transitioning out of this now. Yeah, you wouldn't be building the Morellos if you were thinking of going Elderwood Mage or something like that. And we did see, multiple chosen Maokais, so everybody's going to be thinking about pivoting out of this.
Yeah, which is kind of funny. It's one of those situations where it's like, if everyone pivots, should no one pivot, or
Right.
So
That's the worst feeling when you pivot away because everyone else is going for something, and then they all pivot too, and some of them pivot into what you pivoted into, and you're just
yep,
like,
yep.
oh no, stop. Let's check out to see what Ace of Spades is up to. Finds the chosen Janna. It's always nice to have early on. It's the Mystic chosen Janna.
Yeah, so Mystic Chosen Janna right now is one of the more powerful champions in the game if you can get a blue buff on her, especially. And he does have that one tier.
Right.
So if he can get a blue buff on her, that'll be pretty much a guaranteed top 4. That's a really strong build. Although one of the worst ways to lose that is have 2 assassins jump on your Janna. So
She'll get a couple shields off in the early game at least.
yeah.
That's something. See Pike so afraid he
Oof.
fled the fight. It's a lot of shields actually from that Janna.
Yeah, no,
Uh,
just imagine if that had a blue buff, that would have been a lot more. So
yeah. So it ended up being a good loss, right? Could have gone a lot worse, but Ace of Spades takes a little bit less damage than he could have. Interestingly enough, if he goes for some sort of enlightened build here, along with this, he'll be pivoting right into what Agon's probably pivoting into.
I think because he got Mystic and he's got the Vanguards, I think we're going to be looking at a like Vanguard Mystic kind of build. You could see the
Yeah,
Vanguard Mystic Ari build. There's also just the Vanguard Mystic Bonky Kong build. He does have the items on Bonky Kong, so we'll see if he decides to go with that. Um, but yeah, it's going to be tough because he does need like 2 more bows in an
mhm.
ideal world for that. So
Yeah. What he finds from the Krugs is going to determine a lot. 2 gold is not what you want to find from the Krugs right now.
no, certainly not.
Yeah.
You're kind of begging for a tier
Oh,
here.
spatula. Interesting.
I think in this case, Spatula is
Ooh,
actually a pretty big miss.
yeah. Wow. Only a spatula and some gold. That is a really disappointing round now.
Yeah, at least he
Huh.
gets him back up to 40, 40 gold and he can level up here. But yeah, the lack of tier, it was a pretty big miss. So
Yeah, the lack of a lot of useful stuff, honestly. You might want to pick up a sword if you're going Donkey Kong later for, putting some more damage items on the Wukong or something at least. But, I guess if you, because there really aren't too many useful spatula items in this scenario either, unless like maybe Vanguard or something. But you're kind of just hoping for a force of nature off the second spat on the carousel now, I think.
yeah, pretty much. And the thing is really telling here, by the way, that he didn't level, which tells me he actually is probably going to go some Wukong build.
Yeah,
Um, so going to try to keep as much gold as he can, slow roll, and try to hit the 3-star Wukong. So
right. Awkward items for Souless if he is planning on going the Aphelios build. 2 tiers and 2 rods. That's the opposite of what you want. So
yeah,
can he make it work?
the tiers feel like a big miss there. So
Yeah. Divine with the Jax now. Finding a Jax 2 is always really nice for this build.
yep.
I
Yeah,
really
again, I'm very curious to see what he takes off the carousel. Although he is in second, so he might just have to get stuck what he's stuck with.
right.
But yeah, kiting his hard's got to be happy with how he's doing. By the way, this is another 100 HP kind of game. Although we've seen it way too many times today that often does not translate into a first place. So
Yeah, he had that one game earlier where he dropped pretty hard in the mid game, so always got to be careful. Playing up against Khroen right now. Khroen looks like he's thinking Brawler Ash as a possible late game. He's got one Ash already, but he's also got the Kindred, and the items are going to be pretty good on both early on. So why not just use the double hunter buff? Oh, Janna into shields. Nope, not quite. A
Ash
little
is
bit
one
too
of
much
the
burst.
best champions to find early. If you get that level 5% chance,
Yeah,
finding the Ash is like, cool, I can invest in this. I can put the items on it now. I can get early hunter procs, which are really good early. So that's got to feel real good.
definitely. Oh, and he finds the Nunu as well, so he's able to add Elderwood in along with 4 Brawler.
Yeah, this is a strong build this early.
Mhm.
So that's got to feel real good.
There's a lot of Brawler, Elderwood, Hunter stuff going on around this lobby in general, though. So there's going to be some players kind of contesting each other, and whoever is able to hit that Ash too early in some cases, I think is going to be really consequential.
You know, it's funny we've talked about this build a lot as kind of like the safe quintessential sort of starter build that like if you're not sure what to do, you go this build and you feel pretty good.
Mhm.
I think that's interesting because we've talked about again, like the only way for Agon.gg to kind of choke here would be go 5, 6, 7, 8.
Yeah,
So going something like this build, I think is why it's on a lot of people's minds because it's a pretty clear, solid top 4 if you can hit it, and that's what they're after. So
right. Well, we can see now why Kitingishard is way up towards the top of the standings right now. Pretty strong little cultist start with a pretty buff um, Pike.
I think that's really cool to see, by the way, is that you don't often see people itemize the pike, especially as damage items like that.
Mhm.
And yet, for Kiting to do that to get the strongest board, I think was really cool to see. It'll be a question of like, does he transition those items off to like a Jin, or is he going more Talon? You know, we'll see what he does with those.
Yeah,
But cool to see Pike be used in that way to win streak early.
well, Pike is so strong too. Definitely a little bit underutilized in some games. It seems like. So the carousel is all tiers and swords, and then one cloak, if I saw that correctly. And that's interesting because we did have a number of players I think that could use a couple more tiers, but at the same time, if a player like Souless that has 2 already and the sword might benefit him, but Souless it seems like is going to really struggle to find the right items for his Aphelios build this game.
Yeah, it does feel like the tiers are going to be a little bit representative of how this game's going to go for him. So
Yeah, pretty much. Oh, do you go double Giant Slayer Ash here?
you absolutely go double Giant Slayer Ash here. I think a lot of players really fancy the double Giant Slayer QS Ash. It's a pretty
Yeah,
solid build, and getting the bow and like both. Just the part of the thing people don't realize about Giant Slayer is the core components of bow and sword are also both really good on Ash. And so
right.
even just ignoring the effect, yeah, the bonus components are really good here. So interesting enough, Solus is going Diana carry this time, not Aphelios.
Oh, okay. I guess that makes a lot of sense. Continue considering the items that he got. And he does find 2 good defensive items in terms of Bramble and Dragon's Claw. Not good enough to keep him alive versus Khroen's board, but seems like a logical transition, even though now he is known as a pivoter.
We talked about this a bit yesterday that like there's 2 ways to build Diana. There's the very tanky version and then there's the very bursty version. Solus
Right.
opting to go the tanky version, which to be honest, we've seen kind of underperform lately. So we'll have to see if he can pull that out. But especially with like the Giant Slayer Ashes now, that Diana's kind of going to melt.
Yeah, you really kind of wonder where the damage is going to come from on that composition if you build a tanky Diana. He's got the blue buff on Akali from the couple tiers that he had, but I think he's going to struggle to put something together that's going to be, reasonably strong in the late game. You could I'm looking at that right now, and you could do like some sort of dusk transition where you move those items onto a Riven a little bit later. And that's a big pivot, but the nice thing about making those late game dusk pivots is that you do find a lot of those dusk champions in the later stages of the game anyway.
Yeah, that's true.
So
That's true. Selling that chosen that he's already that'd be an interesting choice if he does that. So
it'd be crazy. Like it's one of those things where it's an extreme scenario, it's not something you would do in the average game, but where they're really trying to get they're really trying to kind of lock this game down, maybe you do it. At the same time, they're pretty much going to hit 80 anyway, so this game is maybe a little bit less important, considering that it's unlikely that Sunny Spring Retirement Home can hit it unless they do extremely well. But why leave it to chance?
yeah, for sure. Again, the thing I'll call out is like Sunny seems to be going the Aphelios build, and we've talked about this before. That basically, the Sunny Springs Retirement Home team needs to go 1, 2, 3, 5 basically
Mhm.
to be able to hit that 80-point mark. So if we see a crash and burn from any of their players into like the 6, 7, and 8 position, we kind of already know the state of the tournament from that point on.
Pretty much.
But I'll also call out, we haven't talked about the worst case scenario, which is like if Sunny Springs retirement home only gets like 10 points, 12 points, we could end up in a situation where actually they have a 2-game buffer to try to lock that out. And that would be almost a little depressing, where it's just like having that big of a lead.
Yeah, then it'll either be expected result, or it'll be one of the most monumental comebacks from that point on.
Yeah.
Which
For
these
sure.
teams have played very closely throughout the tournament as well. So we came into this one expecting it to be pretty close. Obviously, there's a whole curse of esports finals never being close, but I feel we still got a chance here, depending on how this one goes.
Yeah. And we did call this earlier, by the way, that kiting with those items was going to end up transitioning into a Talon build. And so sure enough, we're seeing Talon builds being pretty prevalent in this, this lobby throughout the day.
Yeah, they've been good for a couple top fours. Without the Talon 3, though, it's hard to get the win sometimes with it. So we'll see what Kiting's able to accomplish later on. Finds another Riven.
I'm getting reports, by the way, that Agon was playing mages, and on Wolves, he got 2 tiers and 2 spatulas.
Well, that is really good for mages. That is amazing, actually. Getting to go up to 9 mage is extremely strong.
Yeah, if you can pull off 9 mage, that is a very powerful comp.
Right.
Or you just, make a force of nature and a blue buff. You can't even argue with that. So
yeah, I mean, that's pretty useful too, honestly. Agon, there he is. What has he decided to build? He's got the mage cap on the Aurelia. Interesting. That'll get moved later, I'm sure.
Yeah, Aurelia and Maokai right now.
Maokai. Yeah. Well, on the topic, as we see this fight play out, and it looks like it may not go in Agon's favor. This Maokai is very strong, but he's getting whittled down. No tree pun intended there. He's getting whittled down eventually by this board. Yeah. But
yeah,
who do you think is the best?
Strong.
Absolutely. Who do you think is the best mage cap user?
So we've talked about this a bit before, that actually this set there aren't a ton of great mage cap users, surprisingly. Because certain things like Sejuani, for example, they just rapid cast so fast that you barely notice the difference. Aatrox is a fun one, but the delay in the spell cast can often make it take too long.
Right.
So I end up I think the best one in the game by far is actually just Zilean. Zilean get it going 4 casts instead of 2, I think is probably just the safest.
Yeah. A lot of support characters turn into mages, like Janna is another one where you get to throw out 4 shields like that right away. So anything that lets you put those buffs, on your teammates a little bit quicker seems useful.
Yep.
Things like a Pike mage or like a Jarvan mage, can produce a lot of crowd control. But when you look at like 5 costs aside from Zilean, there's not a whole lot that benefit from that. That's a tanky Diana.
That is a very tanky Diana. So we've talked, like I said, this is the tanky, basically the optimal items for the tanky build. And you're going to see some comps are going to struggle to kill this, but other comps are just going to CC and lock it down. So,
wow, pretty much. And if you don't have that crowd control, that she's just going to keep getting the shields like we just saw.
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, other mage spat users that are decent. Honestly, Aurelia isn't the worst, just because you get the extra damage and a little bit extra time. Because sometimes you're just looking for that extra damage. Morgana is pretty good, because if you're running a mage comp, her spell does shred the magic resist.
Right.
It provides that ionic spark debuff. So spreading that to even more of the team can be a good assist to the mage team. So
Ezreal can be a strong mage buff user later on, because he just gives the debuff and the buff twice then by hitting twice.
Yeah, Ezreal in particular is pretty good for the double heal as well. Getting the heal on your team, because that's usually something that you're benefiting from quite a bit. So
how does I haven't tried this yet. I'm sure you can answer this question. How does Lee Sin interact with mage cap?
So basically he just does his ult twice. So he ults, jumps, ults again. It's almost like he just filled up fast. It's okay. But because he only needs 40 or 20 mana anyway, it's not usually the best option. A lot of people look at those low mana cost users and ask if they're a good mage, Yone, Riven, Lee Sin. And the answer is it's fine. It's not amazing.
Well,
So
characters like Yone too. If he did like two of his big like dash and knock up attacks, that'd be good. But he'll just swap into his second one, that much quicker.
right, exactly.
Yeah, Thresh also another really good mage cap user, just because he puts out so many more shields.
Yeah, that's pretty good to get if you can, for sure.
Yeah, kind of goes back to what we were saying, where it's a lot of the support characters this time around that really benefit from it.
Yep. So with
Uh,
2 mage spats, plus he'd need a Lilia to hit 9 mage here.
mhm,
Because he does not have a mage chosen. He has a Maokai chosen still right now. So
right.
if he wants to hit 9 mage, he's gotta pivot or hit Lilia. So it'll be interesting to see what he chooses to do.
Oh, so he is going to go mage cap Lee Sin. That's going to be cool. All right.
I feel like
Uh,
this is like a temporary thing to do, but if
yeah,
he
for
could hit
sure.
Morgana would be, for this comp, is probably where I would go, especially because you've already got the Aurelia in.
Mhm.
So
I wonder too how Azir would be if the stun you get from knocking them up is short enough that a second one coming through right away would be useful.
unfortunately, Azir is like Sejuani, where the it rapid
Oh,
casts
it's too
so
fast.
quickly
Ah, okay.
that it's like barely worth doing. It's just a little extra damage. So
I see. Lee Sin did his first punch, but he got stunned, so he wasn't able to complete the second one. And this
yep.
Diana is starting to do quite a bit of work here.
Yeah, I don't think you can kill the Cyana with this comp. So
Yep.
we
Even the Aurelia with the double cast not able to handle it.
and so unfortunately with Sunny at 11 HP, we've talked about this a couple times that they need to like a 1, 2, 3, 5.
Yeah.
So if Sunny crashes in 8th, that'll kind of say our game 4 results. So it'll just become a question of, how does the rest of Sunnyside Retirement Home do at that point?
Pretty much. There was a Morgana in the shop, so we'll see if Agon picks that up later. Right now he's being scouted anyway by Sunny Lu. Didn't see if that Morgana came through or not. Doing a little bit more scouting here. And Sunny Lu, yeah, I mean, you can
He
see him
looks
shaking his head a
frustrated.
little
He
bit.
looks frustrated.
Yeah, it's tough. You're
He
gonna have
does
that. Oh, go ahead.
he does have the 4-star Aphelios, but as we talked about, he doesn't have the GA Ari, he doesn't have the 4 Spirit, so he doesn't quite have everything he needs to put together that Exodia and win the game. So
I wonder what you build here because you've got the spatula. That said, Zizarod, I think, is maybe going to be the most useful item for the Sejuani just to give Aphelios more time.
yeah, I do think Zerat on Sejuani is the play here. Or okay, Diana's not bad either.
Interesting.
And it is
So
a bigger Zerat minion, so
it is, but will she die early enough for it to really matter? Is my question now.
maybe. The nice thing is when she dies, the Zerat portal will do the taunt at least, so you can taunt the backline. So there is
True.
some advantage to that, but like you said, there is a bad case where Aphelios just ends up living too long. So
Yeah. All right. Well, Diana dies, and in that case, the minion did distract a little bit. He was going to win that one against Agon anyway, I think, but
yeah, for sure.
it is a good sign.
So Agon with those 2 mage spatulas seems to be struggling to put it together into an endgame comp, though. You would think with 2 mage spats, you'd have a strong advantage, but instead, we're seeing him slowly descend. So
Well, that's the funny thing is that sometimes having too much access to those spatula items kind of gives you a false sense of security, and it causes you to ignore some of the fundamentals of what makes a comp good in trade off with trying to do something creative.
yeah. Now, what's interesting here, I'll call this out just because, like, we've kind of been a little defeatist right now, but Sunny is at 11 HP and did win a round. So if he can
Mhm.
keep winning, and otherwise, Ace, Khroen, and Tabzz are all in the top 4. So there is still a chance for this to turn into the new thing going on here. So
Right, it's definitely not over yet, and at the end of the day, it really does come down to stamina as well. I mean, right now, Agon.gg is playing really well, but can they keep it up for the number of games that they may have to play here? You would imagine they could, but the first team to kind of suffer a little bit from that mental fatigue is going to have some problems.
yeah, for sure.
Sunny Lu wins again, getting a little bit of a win streak going here.
Yeah,
I
that's what I'm
really
saying.
oh,
Like
good.
if Sunny can even just come back to like a 4th, like that would be huge for that team.
Yeah. One thing that we didn't mention is that Sunfire cape on Diana is actually really nice. Being able to
Yeah.
deliver that to the back line right away, that's going to put a lot of extra pressure on the carries in a bunch of different builds.
Yeah, I agree. Sunfire on Assassins is really good to get that initial burst, or the initial tick onto the backline.
Mhm.
It can do a surprising amount of damage to backlines if left unchecked. So,
Right. One thing's for sure is Souless looks like he's about to bomb out in 8th as well. The Diana carry not working out as well as he would have thought. Just because it's funny we say Diana carry, but she's not really carrying. She's just sort of existing for a very long time.
yeah, and this is why I called this out yesterday. Is like I think with that build, you really want to go the version where she's like, i.e., Jeweled Gauntlet, not
Mm.
the tanky build, so that you can actually do the damage and burst things down while having the big shields.
Right. The ultimate defensive ability is killing the other champions on the other side, because then they aren't doing any damage to you.
So unfortunately, this is a really good counter to Sunny's build. Is all the vanguards. This
Mhm.
might kill Sunny, which would be very. So it would be a really unfortunate that Ace. Oh, so,
Oh,
okay.
he's out.
So that just kind of ended their hopes. Like it's unfortunate that Ace is the one that knocked out Sunny, but yeah,
Yeah.
because of that, we now basically know that next game, Agon.gg will have their 80 points, and Sunny Springs Retirement Home will not. So
Yep. That puts Agon.gg on that winning map next time around.
yeah.
That
Now
said,
we talked about this a bit that like we still want Sunny Springs Retirement Home to perform well because we don't want them to end up 2 games away and 2 games back. That'd be really bad.
right, it's still a very realistic scenario for Sunny Springs Retirement Home, where if they come back strong next game and deny Agon.gg the win, then we go into a possible game 6 where both teams have a chance to take it. So
Exactly.
yeah.
Exactly.
So if you're Sunny Spring Real, Sunny, I keep wanting to say like Sunny Springs Real Estate or something like that, but Sunny Springs Retirement Home, you definitely aren't giving up hope just yet by any stretch.
Yeah, for sure. Especially because again, like they can get to that moment where it's just a matter of first, and we've seen a lot of the Sunny Spring Retirement Home players be able to play well enough to take firsts. All
Yeah.
you need is one player to do that. So like we're seeing right now, if this was the final game with Ace on top, that would feel pretty good. So
Yeah, for sure. And having this 6 Vanguard in against the Ash build is going to be pretty strong. They
I
got to get.
really like this build, by the way, because you've got 6 Vanguard keeping all that damage that Wukong is taking is causing him to proc his ability a lot, and you can see him just go back to full health over and over and over again. Such a fun build.
He's just waiting his turn now. Everybody trying to file into the corner. Grand Vice takes a shot. The Vanguard spatula on Janna too is really interesting because it gives her all of that extra armor, which just ensures that she's able to stick around and produce a lot of shields too.
Yeah, this is definitely fun. So
Yeah.
really cool build to see. Going to be very difficult to kill. Honestly, the only thing that would make this any worse would be if any of these Vanguards had a Dragon Claw.
Oh
Then
yeah.
it would just feel like, oh, Agon has 9 Mage RE3.
All right, that's got to be good, right? Let's go check that
9
out.
Mage RE3 with a GA on the front line.
And he's got a
Ooh.
double Lilia. He's got a Lilia 2 with Thieves Gloves already as well. Wow, what is this? This suddenly looks really strong. It has
And
to be, right?
boop,
All right. Could have been a better alt,
boop.
but oh, that works.
Oh, that's fun stuff.
Almost looked like it looked like Set was just fleeing the battlefield at the end. He was like, nope.
That is a
Wow.
strong build.
Well, everything is different now, I feel like.
He's even got Mage Aatrox, which we talked about. That's one of my favorites here.
Yeah, Mage Trox. Yeah.
Nice, nice.
Nice.
Oh, this will be fun to watch.
Yeah, I think it will. Kiting is hard and Sunny Lu both out. So another, obviously Sunny Lu being out is rough. Kiting is hard. Another player from Agon.gg in the bottom 4 now. So Agon's 9 mage build may have saved them from a rough end of this game, regardless of hitting 80 points.
Yeah,
This
that's
game.
true. That's
Yeah.
true.
So despite losing Sunny Lu early, in the grand scheme of things, this still might be a at least ensuring Sunny Springs Retirement Home the chance to hit 80 points themselves next game, which is all they
Yeah,
can ask for now.
Yeah, as someone pointed out, the Morello seems a little pointless here, but you gotta laugh
I
at
agree.
it.
Hey, it's a rod, all right? It's more AP.
You know,
Yeah.
if that spell weren't one-shotting everyone already, but yeah.
Oh, so he can also replace the Hecarim here. He's like, who do I want to put mage on? Lux is not bad.
Like I said,
Morgana, though.
Morgana is my favorite here, but at this point, it
Yeah,
almost barely matters. It's just like get Ari to cast multiple times is all you're looking for.
right. Looks like he's going to wait for the Trap Claw to see who's going to give them the most use, which probably is going to be one of the frontliners.
So 6 Vanguard, 4 Mystic. Let's see how 4 Mystic does against a 3-star Ari with 9 Mage.
That's a lot of damage.
Boop.
Lux. Ooh, all right. Void is back.
That's a lot of damage.
I like the way the Lux worked out in that particular round as well. There's just a lot of crowd control to just give the Ari even more time to shoot.
Yeah.
Tabzz doing some damage to GV8 there, and Khroen down at 1. It's a Kindred 2. Is that a Kindred 3? No, just
Nope,
Kindred 2.
Kindred 2.
Okay. It always shows the 2-star pop up first. So you're kind of waiting, for the 3 to pop up.
Yeah, I feel like at this point, Agon's just kind of having fun, trying out different backline mages, seeing what he can do here. He knows
why
his
not?
team situation. He's got the items he's got. He's having some fun.
Yeah.
So,
Tabzz.
and in the end, in TFT, isn't that what it's all about? Just having a little fun?
Yeah, absolutely. If you're not having fun, why play, It's the truth for any video game.
Sure.
Yeah, all right. So Trap Claw on the Ari again. He waited last round, didn't end up placing it. Decides to put on the Ari this time. Oh, that's so much damage.
I don't know if you noticed, by the way, but the Ari got the Lulu ult.
Oh, yeah, I didn't notice that.
And the amount of health it got was
Goodbye.
massive because of 9 Mage.
Right.
So
Khroen out in 5th. Grand Vice trying to survive. Meanwhile, Lee Sin kicking people off the map all over the place. AceofSpaces, who was on a win streak, takes a loss now.
it will be interesting. It is interesting because the Lee Sin could be the one big counter to this Ari.
True. Yeah. If he's able to get in there right away and kick the Ari off the map, then that does definitely change things.
Yeah, I think that's why we're seeing him back. Like normally you'd think GA RE3 on the front line, pretty easy. But yeah, with the Lee Sin out there, I think you do have to sort of backline it and try to avoid that. So
right. Now it's unlikely that the Lee Sin will get there. Oh, he does frontline it anyway at the end. It's okay. The Lee Sin will jump to the back line and get pulled right to the middle by the Aatrox again.
Thankfully, Lee Sin's on the Ari here, so
yeah. Should be fine. Here we go. Eliminated.
34,000 damage.
It is really fun when you hit 9 Mage. Like it's at 9 Mage, even with RE2, she's going to be one-shotting a lot of teams like that. Like this 4,000 damage is overkill. You usually don't need that much. So you can even find this kind of joy in your own games, even if you can't at the RE3.
It is interesting. Mystic. Ace went 6 Mystic just to try to beat it at least. I don't think it's going to make a difference, but you got to admire the effort.
What even is the magic resistance for 6 Mystic? I don't even know.
I believe it's 180.
180? Wow.
It was 200, but I think it was too strong at 200, so I think we made it 180. So
okay. 180 still seems pretty good. GA taken by Agon, so the rich get richer. Able to put a GA on, like, I don't know, the Vhagar maybe, or probably the Vhagar. This is one of those occasions too where when you have the Lilia 2, it's pretty tempting to actually just frontline her because she's going to definitely get that cast off.
Yeah, for sure. I feel like you have to sell the Lux here.
Oh, yeah. Make a Mage
Zillion.
Zillion? Yeah.
Mage 9 Zillion. You've got to do it.
It's so good. Way better than the Lux, actually. How hard does Agon want to win? That's the question.
He doesn't do it, though.
Wow. No fun, Agon. Come on.
Oh, boo.
Boo.
All right, here we go. Anyway, 6 Mystic. Can 6 Mystic survive? The answer's no.
Yep, that is correct. Now, see, this proves my point, though, because that ult only did a measly 2,600 damage to everybody on the turn. A peasant level pittance, 2,600 damage. And so, you know, if you're not playing against 6 Mystic, your RE2 can do that much as well with 9 Mage. So there you go.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I will say if it was an RE2, the story would actually be a little bit different. I think an RE2 would actually struggle to beat that comp. But
Against 6 Mystic, yes.
yeah.
But against a normal comp, RE2 should still be okay.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
Yeah. But now we know what wins, RE3 with 9 Mage or 6 Mystic. It's definitely still the 9 Mage RE3.
Yeah, we certainly had no way of knowing before going into this game.
Right. That's not something you ran across in your playtests.
You know, you just force 9 Mage every game, right?
I suppose.
And now that Lee Sin's still there though.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Because like I said, there is still a risk of Lee Sin turning the tide, but
Small risk.
yeah, very
Runs
small.
runs into Ace of Spades on the other side here. Whoa. It's serious. It really, really reminds me of the old Cho'Gath ult. Hey, it's I've got 6 Mystic.
Yeah, you have 6 Mystic, but it's an RE3 with 9 Mage. You're supposed to lose.
I mean,
You're supposed to lose.
that's the thing. Like, how often do you see 9 Mage and RE3? Like, one of those things in isolation, sure. 6 Mystic probably does better against that. If it's only 9 Mage, maybe you're okay. If it's only RE3, maybe you're okay. But with both of those, like, if you can hit RE3 and 9 Mage, you deserve to win a lobby.
Yeah, and that's anyone who's sitting here typing like Mystic's not good enough. Like, no, this is not a Mystic's problem. This is a high roll. You win this game. Congratulations.
Yeah, see, GV8's got it. Where's your Zephyr Shroud, huh? Where's the counter? Yeah. Well,
that's funny.
Ace of Spades. He seems a little bit hot under the collar after this one.
Well, as I said, some of these players get a little tilted.
Oh, Aatrox 2. That's the upgrade he needed to really push him over the edge.
Yeah, if he didn't have that, he'd be losing this one.
He'd be in trouble for sure. Yeah, I like it.
I like the Agon showboating. He's like, I don't need this GA. I don't need this Locket. I don't need this Nico. We're just gonna chill.
Yeah. Doesn't need the Zillion.
Nope. Just gonna chill.
Yep. Pretty much. So here we go. The final battle. We kind of know what's gonna happen here.
I mean, I feel like Ace of Spades team might just explode right about now.
Yep. That's right. GG.
GG.
Well, Agon, no stranger to winning games in the final Mortdog tournament, gets the round win there, gets the game win there, and seals the deal for Agon.gg to be on the bubble, to have the ability to win the tournament in the next game. Now it's all about the denial. Can Team Sunny Springs Retirement Home keep them from getting that first in the next game?
Yeah, I think we're at an interesting situation now, and thankfully, I do think Sunny Springs Retirement Home earned enough points so that as long as they get 2 back-to-back firsts, they still win the tournament. And
True.
so if they're not that far behind.
Yeah, they've got a shot. We're going to see what the scores are in the end here too. I'm just kind of taking a look at it on my side as well to see if that'll pop up. But they should be, like you said, without doing the math, they should be close enough. We'll see. It'll be calculated in just a moment. But I love it. I love it when we get to see just the insane highest of the high-end games, the games that you want to tell all your friends about.
Yeah.
You're like, you're never going to believe like what I hit in my game. Agon got one of those. But now, wait, was Agon the player yesterday that got a Kane 3 as well?
Yes. Agon has been rolling really well. He hit Kane 3 yesterday. He has Mage 9 RE3 today.
Wow.
That's got to feel real good. So
just the luckiest boy in the world. 92 versus 72. So like you said, it's a situation where Sunny Springs Retirement Home will be able to hit 80 next game no matter what. Yep. But Agon.gg, if they get a first, if any of the 4 of them get a first, the tournament ends and they will be the champions, and Agon will have claimed his second Mortdog tournament win in a row. On the flip side,
we're at this interesting situation now where we're kind of at sudden death, basically, because all that matters now is who gets first for the next 2 games. If Agon gets first either of those games, it's over. If Sunny Springs Retirement Home can get first in both, they still win this tournament. So
yeah, it still could go either way. And players like Khroen, especially on that on the other team, are due for a win. He has made it himself personally to so many finals rounds that it's going to be a good story either way. But we're going to take a quick break before we go on to that. Let the players again take a deep breath, because it could be the last game of Mortdog's 4v4 Madness coming up right after this. Don't forget, guys, during the break, you got a chance to type !prize pool in chat. Matcherino has been kind enough to sponsor this event and facilitate a way for you yourself to contribute to the prize pool for these players. So if you follow the link from !prize pool, you have a chance to donate, and then 70% of that goes to the prize pool, which is pretty sick. So give it a look, and we will be back in just a few with what could be the last game. We'll find out right after this. We are back on Mortdog's 4v4 madness, and it has been madness indeed when you hit things like 9 mage RE3. That's a bit mad, isn't it?
Something like that. Something like that.
Yeah, well, we're in a position now where Agon.gg is in position to win the entire thing. All they need is one of their 4 players to get a first. On the other side, we do have Sunny Springs Retirement Home in a position to still get to 80 points after this game. So if they can just deny, if they can just have somebody from their team win it, we get to go to another game, a game 6, and then that'll be a situation where somebody is going to win it, but we don't know who. I hope we make it to game 6, but because I just like to see as many games as possible, but we'll see. It could all end right here.
Yeah, this is a crazy sudden death thing, and we've talked about this in other tournaments before. It'll be interesting to see if the strategy changes, right? We've seen, for example, the Aphelios comp can be a high roll comp. Do you see a lot of the Agon.gg all trying to go for that, like Souless has been doing? Do you see some more denial? Do you keep an eye on who's got first place? Like, there's such an interesting strategy here because, again, all that matters is first place. Everything else is basically irrelevant at this point because we know if Sunny Springs Retirement Home gets at least a first, then they've got their 80 points. So all that matters is first place, and that's just such a crazy dynamic now.
Yeah, I think what we're going to see more than anything is just a lot of high risk, high reward builds. And the Aphelios one certainly does fall in line with that. And, we're still fairly early into set 4 where, what build falls into what category with that is still really being explored. And there's a lot of things in each game that go into affecting that as well. But what, in your opinion, what do you think are some of the other high risk, high reward, I'm going to play this and go for first, even though it may mean I go 8th type of builds in the game right now?
I think 6 sharpshooter is one that can be like very hit or miss. You probably don't try to go sharpshooter normally just because it can fall off really hard. But man, if you can get that 6 sharpshooter going, that can be a very good first place comp. Hilariously enough, I think fortune could also be a really big swing. If someone can get a 6 fortune going, that can be a lot of items and a lot of power. Other than that, you see some of the common ones, which is just like, do you get the Vagar comp going with the 3-star Vagar? So that's a big one. Do you get the duelist with the Yone and the 3-star Yasuo? That's another one that can do well. So I think there's a couple different options here for sure.
Yeah, I'm thinking things like Zed 3-star with 4 shade. You get the Kane game. That's another comp that if you can get it online, it works. But sometimes it takes a big commitment to find that Z3 early on. So we'll see. Either way, it's going to be a lot of fun. I think it's going to be a situation where we're going to see a lot of pretty insane comps come out, which is great. Like we've been seeing more and more tournaments move to this format that I feel like that you kind of pioneered, right? In the first Mortdog Madness, where you need a first to win the whole game. And it just makes for some of the most exciting conclusions I think you can have to TFT. So I think this one's going to be a lot of fun.
I think to her credit, it was actually one of the other rioters, Ran, who came up with this format that we did in one of the showcases. Because again, like you said, having to end on a first, I think is a great way to end a tournament. Instead of that awkward, like, well, the game's still going on, but they got enough points and the game's already over. And we saw, I think it was the NA Worlds thing, where there was, a really cool moment where it just like kept needing to get that first and the tension was really high. So definitely really like that format. So props to Rand for coming up with that.
Rip to delicious milk in chat. Don't bring that up.
Or for mismatch socks. Yeah.
Oh, right. Yeah.
All right. Last game. Maybe last game.
Indeed. All right. A lot of tears on the carousel going into this one as we jump on board with Khroen trying to keep his team in it by finding some way for one of their members to get a first place here. See, Khroen has had a bit of a rough day today, 8-3, 6-5 in terms of results. But maybe it all changes right here with this Rod start. Who knows?
Yeah, Khroen talked about this yesterday in his interview, right? Where it was like he felt like he was on support duty, kind of enabling his team. But today has just sort of felt like a rough games all around. So not really sure what to do here,
Yeah. Get somebody a first place. He's got to support harder than ever now, I guess.
Yeah.
Items he. Oh, that's a lot of gold. The thing is, I love it when I get starts like this because I'm like, great, no matter what the shop is, I can just buy it all.
Yeah, people have asked, the 0 item start versus the 3 item start, which one's better? And I do think it does come down to preference, but it seems like at least myself and a lot of the other challenger players really prefer the 0 item start, just because you can build up that economy and you'll get those items later. And early gold, due to the way the interest works, will always cascade into more gold later throughout the game. Whereas early items are just early items. So
May
yeah,
or may not give you any sort of spike in power for sure. So yeah,
exactly.
I do like the early gold now. Oh, Vanguard Garen. Interesting. Strong early game chosen.
Yeah, this is one that you maybe take for early game because Garen can get you through the early game, but you're definitely not sticking with unless you want to end up with like a 3-star Garen 6 Vanguard build, but that is so risky in a tournament structure where you need to get first right now. So
Yeah.
definitely wouldn't lean towards that.
Yeah, I wouldn't recommend at this point, but it's like you said, there's a lot of chosens out there that are just good for early game chosens to just make sure you can get a win streak or at least preserve that HP early, and then you swap off later to try to find a better chosen in the late game. He's just going to pass by it completely, though. Finds the Yasuo, too. I know Khroen does like to play duelists, and he would have 2-star duelists right now, so seems like a pretty decent start.
Yeah, he's definitely, like you said, the 2-star duelist. We've seen this do well. We have seen it struggle in against the early vanguards. So that's the one negative. And the other negative is he kind of took that early gold start and hasn't turned it into any econ. He had that 8 gold. He could have hit 10 at 1-2, 1-3, but instead now he's just got 7 gold. So a little bit of an unfortunate start there, I think.
Yeah, prioritizing the board strength over the econ,
Yeah.
which it is tempting when you end up having 2-2 stars that early. You feel like you can maybe go on a win streak, and he does get the win over Souless to start off with, so I suppose that is something.
Yeah, if it
But
turns into a win streak, then I'm just wrong, right? Because, if he turns it into a win streak, then it was definitely worth it. Preserved all that health, got the win streak gold. Because win streak gold is the other way. Win streak gold is better than economy gold. So
yeah, it's risk reward though, right? Because if you don't end up winning and win streaking, then you feel kind of silly, like you should have gotten that interest gold earlier. But
yeah.
it's just all about the player's ability to do some scouting, judge the strength of their board, judge the strength of the lobby. He's already found 5 Yasuos, so I
Oh,
wonder if he is. Oh no! Oh
oh,
no!
kiting has 5 Yasuos also though. So
Yep, that is the last thing you want to see if you're Khroen. It's like you think your board is pretty decent, but then you see the chosen Yasuo guy.
yeah.
Oh,
I was
rip.
gonna say if somehow Crow high rolled a chosen Yasuo right now, that would be amazing to jump from 5 to 8. But unfortunately, it doesn't look like that's going to be the case.
Yeah, it looks like it's going to be something he probably wants to pivot away from in the near future. See what other chosen he finds access to.
All right, this is really going to come down to if Fiora can parry the cards, which it doesn't look like. So, yeah,
Well, now at least he's got 10 gold. I suppose you do miss out on that 1 interest gold that he would have gotten earlier.
yeah.
But now you got to think
All
about
right.
transition. Yeah, rough start for Khroen, but it's so early in the game. You can't let yourself get too downtrodden by it, I suppose.
Yeah, this is one of the most awkward spots to be in, by the way, where you're at like 5 Fioras, 5 Yasuos, none of them chosen, and no real sign where to go with your items. This is how a lot of players on ladder can end up floundering, where it's just like, do I chase these for 3-star? Do I not? And again, as we already saw with kiting having a bunch of Yasuos also, that's really risky.
I mean, as soon as I see Kiting's board, I'm trying to find a way to hit the eject button on this comp and be like, all right, I can wait until like carousel. I can wait until like maybe Krugs, but if I don't find the exact right chosen, I need a way to get out of this.
Yeah, and like you said, I think basically the first chosen he sees that's even remotely playable in his eyes, I have a feeling we're going to see a quick sell of
Yeah,
all these units. So
I would imagine, right? Probably true. Meanwhile, Agon versus Tabzz here. It's chosen TF versus chosen TF, and it's mage TF for Tabzz, but what was it for Agon? I wonder.
yeah, I'm
Probably
not sure.
mage.
I thought it was cultist, but not
Hmm.
sure. So
Either one is useful early, at least.
yeah, I'll be interested to see what Khroen picks up here. Because again, without much direction right now, you have the sword and the rod. You could go the glove maybe. Um, oof. He
I
also
mean,
lost the coin flip against Agon, so that's unfortunate.
could go. Yeah, he just does not know. I mean,
Oof.
I guess Shoji would have been an option there. Belt can maybe turn into a Sunfire cape, but or he can build a Morello's as well. Either way, it's rough.
Yeah, no one good to build this Morello on that. Wow, 3 Aphelios.
He's
Oh,
checking around. He's got to scout to see who's doing Aphelios now here. All right, there's Ace of Spades.
yeah,
Already has a teammate that's going that direction, so probably going to leave those Apheliosum for
yeah.
him. The
And
plural of Aphelioses.
and this is where I think if the team was a bit more reactive, they might go, "Okay, Ace, you move off of this. I'll move on to this." But it seems like today everyone has had their clear roles. They're like, "This is what I'm doing." Ace's job has been to grief Soulless, and so they've kind of have stuck to their jobs. And I will say, as a designer, is it'll be kind of fun if we expand on this, 4v4 tournament structure. How much meta shifting and ideas we see on things like that in the future. So
Yeah, it is really cool. We're gonna go check out Kitingishard's board. He just took a loss to Khroen, it looks like.
So what
As
you're
we
saying
just
is
saw.
we were watching Duelist with some Yasuo and Fiora, and now we're going to watch some Duelist with Yasuo and Fiora. I like this.
Nice. Well, variety is the spice of life, so this duelist is the duelist that has the chosen. So there you go.
Yeah, definitely has the chosen. Also has 42 gold. Has to be happy with that gold start.
It's a huge amount for right now, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, with 92 HP, like over 90 HP with that much gold at 2.6, yeah, you're feeling good.
Yeah, it's a really good start for kiting. And again, it'll give him the option to pivot off away from this Yasuo if he needs to. So that'll feel pretty good.
So what's it going to be? A battle against Sunny Lu and the Brawlers. Pretty good start. Brawler looks like 4 Brawler, and you've got Kindred as well with pretty decent items early.
Yeah, we've talked about this a bit before that like early Kindred can do a lot of damage. So having an early Kindred can just carry pretty well. And you always like to see if you can get one out of an orb or pick one up out of an early shop,
Yeah.
especially if you can get a blue buff on it. But
Kiting just lost 12 HP from that. That is extremely rough. Whoa, but that makes you feel a bit better. You can see the smile on his face now as he is just Yasuo's away from a Yasuo 3, and he's just now hitting Krugs.
yeah, 50 gold Krug, 7 Yasuo. At that point, I think you're invested in it.
I would say so. I'd say the duelist chose him at this point.
Yeah. So at this point, you're kind of hoping for like an armor, um, something like that to build up on that. Because you've already got the IE locked into it, which is a good item on Yasuo, but you got to make sure he doesn't just like crash out. And so that's where getting something like a Titan's Resolve can be really strong here.
So do you like Titan's Resolve or GA more on Yasuo?
I think I personally prefer Titan's Resolve. Getting that extra damage and that extra tankiness allows him to ult a lot more often.
With the
Um,
late game shields, he's a bit more able to do that. Wow, one more to go.
whew.
Fiora 2 is a good find as well. He's rolling for it.
Oh
He's
my
greedy, man.
goodness, this is
Yeah.
this is greedy.
Oh man, this is a lot of gold. All
And
right,
greed
so
paid off.
30 gold remaining. That's still really good for 3-1.
I think this is
Wow.
the first time we've seen almost like a hyper roll down in this tournament. So that's really interesting to see.
It's not common. It's definitely a situation where he was only missing one, so he decided to go for it. And it paid off not in that he just was able to complete it, but that he also got a Jax 2 and a Fiora 2 out of it.
Yeah, for sure. So he is in a strong state right now. And you can see even fighting a Bramble Annie, which is kind of his weakness right now, still just tore through that, gets his win, and is going to be in a really strong state from this point.
Right. I mean, Yasuo at this point, like the crits are still going to do a lot of damage, even if they're, hindered by the Bramble Vest, just because it's a Yasuo 3.
Yeah, for sure. And so now he's got to be pushing towards that 6 duelist. His goal should be level to 8 as quickly as possible. Try to hit that Yone, itemize that Yasuo, and then maybe we could see this. We saw this yesterday that a lot of duelist comps were able to win. If he can turn that into a win, that's a great way to carry his team to victory.
Yeah, and his team needs a victory to stay in the tournament. So great start for a crucial game. Meanwhile,
For sure.
Tabzz, 4 cultists, 2 keepers. So again, just a pretty tanky board early on.
Fighting up against Kiting. Nice.
Yeah, all right. Kiting is hard.
Yeah, calling it out by the way right now. Sunny being the only player at 100 HP still, so he's got a strong comp, whatever it is.
Yep. We saw earlier, but slips my mind at the moment. Yeah, kiting is hard though. Going for
Oof.
delivering the win for Agon this game.
Yeah.
Souless is inevitable, but also kind of confused maybe. Oh,
Yeah,
he finds
Sunny
an
hitting
Aphelios.
6 already. Solus playing Aphelios. That's a new one. We haven't seen him play that today, so
Surprising everyone with his choice to play Aphelios comps. Yeah, looking at the scouting here.
yeah. Definitely curious
Going,
what Sunny's playing right now. So
yeah, it's tough because like let's see, Souless. Oh, they go through it so quickly.
yeah.
Hard to see sometimes. Up against Khroen again. Oh, Khroen finds an early Riven. Wow. All right.
Early
Interesting.
Riven with blue buff too. So that's a pretty
Yeah.
strong Riven at this point in the game. A lot of champions that aren't like 3-star are going to have a lot of trouble getting through that Riven. So hopefully Khroen can convert that into like a 4 Dusk pretty quickly.
Right. For now, this Riven is at least going to prevent it from taking some big losses. All right, that was close. That I expected that to be a smaller loss than it was, but a lot of low HP champions on the other side. As we go to the next carousel here, see what Tabzz is looking for. What would Tabzz be looking for? He's got a tier and a cloak right now. Couple chain vests that have not had anything combined with them yet.
Yeah, I'm not really sure where he's going right now. It's pretty interesting because he's in cultist, assassin. He's kind of all over the place. You could see this turn into like a 6 assassin build. Um, it's interesting. Not sure where he's going.
Hmm. He grabs a sword, so can build a GA. He can also do like a bloodthirster or something like that.
Yeah, it feels like he's going to slam a GA there. So,
That would
but again,
be it'd feel like the most logical choice, wouldn't it?
it
Maybe
would.
not though.
I'm just not
Oh.
sure where he's taking this. Jin comp?
That would be really surprising. We haven't seen a single one yet, as far as like the actual Jin carry, but doing something like GA, Giant Slayer, those are good Jin items right now. You kind of need the sharpshooter though to really make it pop off.
Yeah, certainly Jin with just 2 sharpshooters, also not a ton of damage. Unless you, like you said, you go your Dusk version that you've talked about a bunch. But yeah, it'd be interesting to see maybe like does he stick with like something like 6 cultists? But again, everyone right now needs to be playing for first place comps. And so saying something like Jin cultist just seems like definitely not the way to play it right now. So we'll
Yeah,
be
right now
really
in the
curious
meta,
to see where this goes.
yeah, 6 cultists will not usually win you a game in the meta right now. It's gonna be able to beat Sunny Lu though. Sunny Lu is gonna finally drop below 100 HP here.
Hmm.
So strong board regardless. Oh, he
Yeah, I'm a
finds
little
the Ash.
surprised.
Interesting. So with an Ash early like that, do you maybe try to find a way to swap? Because you notice he's been keeping brawlers. So this could also be converted into brawler Ash too. But
I
again, not
guess
really.
that's a big conversion though.
It is, and it doesn't feel like one that's going to get you a first either, you know? But I
Yeah,
mean,
especially as you're limping into brawler Ash, like that's a real
yeah,
limp. So
everything else is there's a lot of 1 stars on his board. He doesn't seem to have a super clear direction yet. So I think if you sell that cultist chosen and then maybe end up with like a brawler chosen or an elderwood chosen, you have a chance to make a smoother transition. But
yeah.
right now, he just doesn't need to make any changes. It's one of those cases where like if it's not broke, don't fix it, you know?
Yeah, for sure. And going in with a 3-win streak into PvE rounds is going to give you a good chunk of gold, so that's going to feel pretty good. Knocking a bunch of health off his opponent's Soulless, that's also got to feel good. So
All right. So what he buys here, yeah, I think he's definitely thinking about Elderwood or Brawler Ash just with the champions he's picking up.
yeah, certainly if he can hit a really nice chosen, like even something like a Warwick with Hunter or something like that, could be really big. Agon went 3-star Twisted Fate. Interesting.
Hmm.
Don't see a
You
lot
know,
of.
I was gonna say if he I'm trying to remember the chosen that Agon has. If he has a mage chosen, he does have mage chosen. Okay, yeah, if he does have that, there is sort of like a low level reroll comp where you get like the Nami 3, the TF3, that kind of stuff, Annie 3. And he did just hit the Annie 2. So he could be going for another big mage build. And that seems to be the case. Yeah, he's building up towards that Nami 3, got 2 Nikos. And Nami 3 is scary. You were talking yesterday about this, Mort, actually, that Nami 3 has a lot of strength people aren't realizing right now.
Yeah, for sure. With the 4-second stun on 2 targets, and especially 2 key frontline, that can be big. And I will say this TF is going to hit hard, but the problem this TF has is that it's going to take a while to cast, which means you have to live a while. And so, yeah, like something like Kiting his Hard's comp here is just going to tear through it before the TF really has a chance to cast. So I think he's really going to be looking for a Shojin for that last item. So here it comes. And yeah, that's going to hit really hard as we see here.
Right. If he gets the cast off, big.
Yeah, props to Agon though. I do think putting in the Janna is a really smart choice here because that buys even more time. Because again, all you need with this TF with these items and this, this comp is one cast. That cast is going to hit so hard.
With the Janna as well, that really helps shore up your front line because the Annie doesn't start rebuilding mana until her shield is gone. And so as soon as her shield is gone, a lot of cases Janna will shield her, which will then give her more mana to shield herself. And so you can kind of create a little bit of a cycle between Janna and Annie to keep that front line going a lot longer than usual.
Yeah, and we talked about this last game also that running the Yuumi to heal up the Annie is also a really nice play here. So yeah, kind of an interesting version of the mage comp that we haven't seen really since like the first week. So we'll see if this can carry him to the end game.
Yeah. Well, he made mages work in the last game. We'll see if he can win it. It'd be kind of poetic if Agon wins the final game to win the tournament. So that would feel like the true 2P, right? Because he won the last one, but if he wins this one, but he himself doesn't get the first place in the final game, it's kind of like, well, it was a team effort. But if he can do it, then it's like, all right, Agon just won both tournaments.
Yeah, certainly he's got to feel good after that 3-star Ari game for sure. So,
oh yeah,
2 Nikos too. I just realized he's got 2 Nikos sitting there.
Right. So he's he could even make like an RE2 right now, but I think you just wait, and wait until you really need them.
Yeah, I don't think Ari is the damage in this comp. I think you're relying on TF. I think, like you said, the bigger thing here is hitting something like Nami 3, Lulu 3. Those are going to be actually bigger power spikes for this comp. So
finds a Lulu too, which is nice as far as just adding a little bit more survivability.
Yeah, for sure.
Lobby. Yeah.
And it is interesting. He does have the tier with the spatula. So he could consider, like, if he could get one more mage cap or a Lilia or something, he could consider that 9 mage again, which would be pretty crazy. But again, I think what he's actually looking for is a sword to go Shojin. So
it would make a lot of sense. We'll see. I mean, 9 mage is such a crazy win condition. Wow, and he just taking all those shots. And Ace of Spades, Ace of Spades is putting together a decent Aphelios composition right now, but it doesn't have the Aphelios 4 yet. Grand Vice, meanwhile, down at 8th. But yeah, we'll see. I like the attempt to go 9 mage, but if you're banking on this TF, you probably want to get that mana item on him instead.
yeah, we're seeing what we've seen a lot so far today, which is Ace and Souless on holding hands duty, preventing each other from getting too out of control, which is allowing the other comps to shine through. Curious what Grand Vice is running, since he's unfortunately in 8th right now, not as one of the hand holders. So
with Grand Vice, though, you never know. He could be like concocting some amazing scheme to come back and win the lobby, even though he's down to like 30 HP right now.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so Agon getting a tier here. He could slam the blue buff, which means his TF casts a lot sooner, which is great. Or he could greed it and just hold it. So yeah, okay, he's going to slam the blue buff, which is definitely the non-greedy play. I like this considering they're trying to get a first. So hopefully that pays off for him.
This really doesn't reduce his ability to find another tier for the mage cap in the future too. Tier is still an item in the game right now that's not as sought after as a lot of other components. So there's a lot of cases where he'll have an opportunity in the future maybe to find one. I guess he's got maybe a chance to pick one up off the rafters, but in a normal scenario, tiers would be plentiful on carousels.
Yeah. It'll be interesting now because I think the other big thing that's going to make or break his comp here is, can he get Annie 3? He's only 2 Annies off because he has the 2 Nikos. But Annie 3 will buy him so much more time for this TF. And as you see, these TF damage with these items is surprisingly big to the point where Ari barely matters in the comp.
Yeah. TF is doing like 700 or so, which is going to nearly kill pretty much everybody right now that's in the back line at least. Finds a Vhagar. And interesting that he didn't come across any of those until now. That's one you definitely want to find a little bit earlier.
Yeah, I think without the blue buff, I don't think he runs Vhagar in this comp. I think he's actually going to stay away from it. So
yeah, you hold on to it, I suppose, for like the 9 mage option, but there's no reason to really put it in at the moment, or even when you hit 2-star.
it would take a lot of luck to hit 9 mage, I think, at this point.
Oh,
Interestingly enough, I think the big thing he needs. Oh, the Z3 on the other team. That's going to be scary from Grand Vice.
yeah, it definitely is. Jumping on the Lulu, so at least he's gonna have time to get a cast off. But with that RFC on the Z, like you have to find a way to kill it. Oh, it's low. All right, Nami. All right, that's enough damage.
Whew, poor Grand Vice.
Really early set too for Grand Vice, and I mean set also, not set 2-star. Just to clarify. Oh, maybe a little bit of Ash denying here by Agon as well.
So Souless playing Spirit Moonlight. Again, we see him and Ace holding hands pretty much every lobby. So
Yeah, pretty much. Got the right items for the Aphelios. If he can find a chain vest, if he can get the DA on Ari, that's the big moment with this particular round.
Chain vest would be massive for him here if he can get it.
And gloves
Oh.
and rod. All right, well, didn't find it.
Yeah, so that unfortunately I think is going to keep him pretty weak. And yeah, he's still way far off of the Aphelios 3, unfortunately. Looks like he's going to roll it all. Oh, 1. He's rolling so fast. You can tell he's played this comp a bit. And there you go.
All right, so he finds the ability to get that Aphelios 4 at least. Oh, Giant Slayer. All right.
Interestingly enough, he's not at 4 Spirit yet. He does not have, like, he could have. No, he can't even level to get in 4 Spirit yet. So,
yeah. Had to roll down to find that Aphelios, and now he has to wait a little bit. He's got 40 HP, so he still definitely does have time. And with the Aphelios 4 in here, if he does lose, he's going to be losing by a smaller margin.
Yeah. Ooh, wow. Ooh. That was close.
Yeah. You know, again, against Grand Vice, against one of his teammates, at least, you know, it's a close loss. And Grand Vice needed that to stay alive. But again, it's all about the first places anyway.
Yeah, it feels like right now it's going to be very difficult for Souless, Ace, Grand Vice to take first place in any of these lobbies. Right. So I think we're actually looking like Agon right now. He just hit that 3-star Lulu. We saw he had that strong mage comp. Kitingishard is also at the top of the lobby. So right now it feels like Tabzz and Khroen have kind of the weight of their shoulder, weight of the world on their shoulders. So
right, team depends on them to try to find a way to get a first in this particular game.
Yeah, and that'll be interesting to see because again, as long as one of Agon.gg teammates gets first, the tournament is over, and so a lot of pressure on this game right now.
Yep. Souless up to level 7, so at least he's able to get in 4 Spirit. That's going to make this comp a bit stronger. Going up against Khroen, though, that's somebody he needs to beat. Oh, that's a lot of damage from that Ari. Yeah.
Definitely one of the feels bad because right now Ari's only got a 45% crit. And so to get that crit, that's a lot of extra damage. So
that's what you need if you're Souless and you want to come back. That's for sure. Jax 3 for kiting is hard. So feels like when it rains, it pours as far as the relative strength of these two teams in the lobby right now. Like Agon.gg's boards just seem way better overall.
By the way, this is one of my favorite things to do is the RFC Lee Sin. If he could have got a blue buff on that Lee Sin, it would have been even stronger. That would have been fun. But he does have the Kane 2 also.
Yeah. Tabzz just finding level 8 and finding a lot of 5 costs early and really powering up that Ash with brawlers, but also some other good stuff too. Oh,
that Kane damage tearing through.
Yeah, Aphelios 4 has not beaten this.
Nope.
Yeah.
Yeah, and this is one of the weaknesses of the Aphelios comp is if you don't have that front line to stay alive, it doesn't have time for that exponential curve to kick off, and so Yeah, you just kind of fall on your face. And so we see Ace, the other Aphelios player, crashing on 8th place there. So
Well, he tried his best. It was his job to try to hold Souless back. It had varying degrees of success over the course of the day, but overall, Souless definitely does seem inevitable in his own words.
I do think props to Ace though. Like he did the job he needed to, because if Solus was running uncontested, I think we'd see a first place here. Solus has shown he knows how to play that comp really well. And so being able to slow that down so that other people can take the first, I feel like Ace did his job for the team. So props
Yeah,
to him.
indeed. Did we could, and now it's on Khroen, Sunny Lou, and Tabzz to try to pick up the slack a little bit here.
Exactly. We talked, Khroen mentioned support players. It feels like Ace was the support player for today. So
Yeah, for sure. All right, so round 5-5. Agon and Kitingishard tied at 57, Tabzz at 52. Carrying the torch for his team, Sunny Spring retirement home.
yeah. So GV8 hit his spirit, perfect item Z and everything like that. The question is just, does he get a bad matchup? Because a single bad matchup will spell the end for Grand Vice.
Is this a bad matchup? That's the question. The Ashe is relatively untouched right now, and it takes so long to chew through those brawlers. That said, the Evelyn got in the back lines, and it looks like GB8 is going to be able to win that one.
Whew.
Yikes.
Yeah, that comp is really tough to deal with sometimes, because especially with those Z items, he keeps dropping aggro. He gets to build up all the attack speed combined with the spirit attack speed, and he just becomes a monster that's really hard to hit. So,
Oh, that TF3. So much damage.
Khroen out, unfortunately. So that is 2 of the Sunny Springs retirement home players out right now.
Yep. Back to retirement, looks like. Now it's just Sunny Lou and Tabzz. But it's looking like it's going to be so hard to topple either Agon or Kiting or even Grand Vice at this point. He's on a win streak now. So just overall, like we talked about earlier, Agon.gg just seems to have the stronger boards in this lobby.
Big thing to call out here, Kiting did get the Yone. So now his 3-star Yasuo has that 80% lifesteal with those items. Thing's going to be a monster.
Yep. And Tabzz runs right into it. Kitingishard is going to be the next opponent. And Yasuo just jumps right onto the Ashe, and that'll do it. Very, very quick round.
Yeah, not even close.
And it really kind of seems like we may even have a situation here where the top 4 are all from Agon.gg. Though that said, Grand Vice down to 1 HP, so we will see. Brawler chosen Vi. Does that help at all? I don't know. I guess you could throw it in instead of the. Well, that would take away Elderwood if you put it instead of the Maokai, but it's a rough spot for Tabzz now. Shojin's, though, coming out of the Nexus minion. That'll be a little bit useful. You can maybe put that. Would you put that on the Lee Sin? What do you think?
I think in this case, you could put it on the Lee Sin. Let's see, 15, 30. It reduces him by 1 auto attack, so it's okay. Kayn, it also reduces by 1. So you could actually put it on the Kayn even also.
Right.
I think both are acceptable choices here. But because you have the 2-star Kayn, I feel like you go the Kayn route.
Yeah. Probably live longer. Well,
okay, now it's a lot harder. Now it's a lot harder of a choice.
Ashe 3 looks like one of the outs that Tabzz is kind of thinking of too right now, but, does he have the gold to really do it? It's not looking like that at the moment.
That's a really good call out, by the way, that Tabzz right now is playing without a chosen.
Yeah.
Trying to first place without a chosen can be very difficult, so.
True. Banking
Oh,
on
goes the Kayn route.
Wow. A little bit of indecision. It's a tough choice. We were talking about a bit too, no doubt all the things we were saying he was kind of considering as well. Lee Sin. Can he punch him?
Nope, not quite.
Nope.
Still got him though. Barely.
That's huge.
Yeah.
That's so big to get rid of Souless. And he's only 2 Ashes away from an Ashe 3. So maybe, just maybe, I don't want to get too excited yet. But
now, I will say Ashe 3 is one of the ones that a lot of players don't feel like is a big enough upgrade compared to, say, like the RE3. It does go from 75% attack speed to 300% attack speed,
Mhm.
but she still has to kind of kill things one at a time. So it's not that big of an upgrade. Whereas by comparison here, if something like the Talon 3 were to be hit, that would be a much bigger upgrade.
Yeah, normally I would agree, but I kind of wonder if things like the Lee Sin 2 or the Kane 2 combined with an Ash 3 might be enough.
Yeah, I would certainly agree with that. And that's the thing. Tabzz has a very strong board, but we talked about again kiting on that win streak with
Yeah.
that perfect Yasuo, has the Yone for the 2 exile. So yeah, it's gonna be a tough spot here. So hopefully Sunny and Tabzz can pull through, but if not, we'll see the end here. So
We will see. On board now with Sunny Liu. Teammates fighting each other. The last thing you want to see right now, where one of you needs a first to keep your team alive. But he's got that strong talent.
yeah, that Talon's gonna be great here. Oh, he has to face his teammate though, so that feels pretty bad.
It definitely does.
Kiting did lose that match though.
That's true. Tabs. Okay, so Agon and Kiting still way ahead. It's a David versus Goliath situation right now. It's like the end of it's the end of Karate Kid 1 where Cobra Kai is Agon.gg. I'm not saying they follow the same ethical principles of, Cobra Kai, but still,
Certainly not. Certainly not.
they
What's
look
interesting here is Sunny's running for Mystic, which
Mm,
means he's got a good matchup into Agon, but kind of a rough matchup into Kiting.
right.
So this should be a better matchup, but we do. Oh, good Shroud too.
Yep. Shroud helps a lot.
Here comes the
The other two.
TF ult, and oof, that's a lot of damage.
Oh my goodness. Just one shot the Janna more or less as well.
I
Sunny Lou's in
think
big trouble
this is
here.
the end for Sunny.
Goodbye, Sunny Lou. He's out.
And Tabs is alive. It's all
That's right.
down to Tabs.
Tabs has got to do it, man. 7 HP and a dream for a Sunny Spring retirement home here. Can they make it work, though? Last
All comes
carousel.
down to Tabs.
The item choices are going to be pretty crucial here.
He sold the Lee Sin, by the way, to put better items on Kane.
Okay. Interesting.
You see the prayer there.
Yep. Pretty much. All right. So
Whew.
he's got the Ezreal 2.
What's crazy to me here, and I think it is the right call, but it is really risky, is he's running. He went down to 4 brawler
Hmm.
and has 2 ashes in. He's saying, "I need to burst you down before you burst me down." He's giving up those defenses, which against the duelist comp is a little risky because it's just going to be a matter of who can blow up who first. But against the duelist, you're slowing him down from ramping as quickly. So,
Got to take
but
those risks.
yeah, it goes up against the mage comp though.
Yep. That's right. All about that TF. Who's it going to hit? Oh, it
Oh,
hits.
good Ezreal, but unfortunately the TF killed the Ashes, and I
Yep.
think that's going to do it. Agon.gg is
Oh, it's a double kill.
going to
Agon-
be the tournament winners.
That's right. Agon.gg. Not only the team named after him, but the man himself, Agon, taking first place in the last game. And so that's 2 Mort Dog tournaments in a row that Agon has won, both solo and as part of the team. Agon is just like the Mort Dog champion of 2020, apparently, right now.
Done it. He's done it. Really impressive stuff, and just shows how consistently of a good tournament player he is. And props to the rest of his team as well. They all came in, did their job. Souless picked a specific role, forced a lot of teams to play around him, which I think was a big burden of stress for a lot of teams.
Mhm.
So everyone did a great job there. So props to them.
Yeah, let's take a look at our final scoreboard of the tournament. In the end, it ended up being Agon.gg with 108 points and 97 of Sunny Springs retirement home. But doesn't really matter. Over 80 points. It's just all about that first win. Agon.gg, the crew ending up putting it together. Aha, the plushie is right there. No, that's caster bias. I saw that more. You guys didn't see it. He had an Agon plushie on his webcam. But that's okay. I revealed
Yeah,
it.
again, congratulations to Agon.gg. They came in strong with that first game. They
Yeah.
got third as well. And again, even ignoring these points, I think they're off a little bit here, but it doesn't matter. The point is, Agon.gg comes out with first place. They did well. Really
Hello?
well done.
True enough. And we have, I believe, is that you, Solus?
Yeah.
Hey, how's it going, man?
Hey, what's up, DoA? What's up, Mort?
See you
How's it
guys
going,
at You did it. Now you were the chosen Aphelios of the group, playing it all weekend.
Uh-huh.
GG though, making it work. Like, what was the team strategy coming into it? Obviously, you're the Aphelios guy, but what was everybody else's job?
Our strategy is just to go top 4, and then I just play Aphelios because I'm griefing one player or like the whole enemy team because they have to hold Aphelios too.
True.
So like it was just very efficient to have an Aphelios player on your team.
All right. Now
Yeah.
it feels like you in particular are really good at just picking one comp and just mastering it a lot. Like we've seen you do it with things like Dark Stars in the past. Do you feel like the Aphelios build is kind of like that for this stage of set 4 now for you?
Uh-huh.
What draws you to the Aphelios comp?
The fact that you hit perfect item and the champion it feels rewarded. It doesn't like have like the 50-50 effect where you just hit and lose right away.
Hmm.
It rewards you for hitting. That's what I like about it. It's like voice in.
Okay, yeah.
Interesting to hear you compare it to Void Sin, since I think a lot of players are definitely find that build frustrating to fight against. So,
Oh, it's a
uh,
very fun comp.
I'd agree.
any special shout outs to like your teammates that did
Oh
really
yeah.
well today, or
Shout out to all my teammates, especially Tournament Agon, and shout out to Agon.gg, where you can get really cute plushie.
Oh, really? I did not know that before you said that right now.
Yeah.
yeah, Agon seemed to play really well with the 2 first places there at the end. When you guys were communicating, was there any special things you did to kind of enable each other, or?
Oh, we were really good at teamwork because we always shout our item on carousel before we go for it, and we shout like what item they need to grief them, and buy unit and sell unit to like help each other out. I feel like our teamwork was really great.
Cool. So
Nice.
going forward, like looking ahead in TFT, where do you see team tournaments versus solo tournaments? Like, have you developed any sort of preference? Is there a way you would like to see team tournaments done in the future that would be a little bit different? Like, how do you kind of like judge the two different sort of like versions of competitive TFT we've seen now?
I feel like team tournament is a lot better for like viewing experience and playing because
Okay.
it feel like you can actually like use your low roll game to help out your team. Like you can be a designated griefer instead of just like playing for the win when you can't. And then yeah, it feels really fun compared to like solo tournament for me.
If
I
you
want to ask about that a little bit because you mentioned that, like, hey, if I'm having a low roll game, maybe instead of trying to survive and get 4th or 5th, I'm going to switch over and grief an opponent. Were there any moments where you guys did that?
There were a lot of moments I think. Like if we can't win, we just grief the enemy units, roll down all our gold. Like when they roll that turn, and then just hold all the units.
Hmm.
And it's very efficient, I think.
So, being that we've got one of the main developers for your TFT on the call here, I'll give you a chance to say like if per se there was like some sort of official team mode in the game in the future, what sort of like extra features would you want to see in there? Would you want to see like item trading, champion trading? Like if you could design a team mode for TFT, what extra features would you put in there?
I think item trading is the best one,
Hmm.
and the fact that we can't fight each other would be really nice.
So don't fight each other and trade items. All right. I
Yeah,
saw Mort shaking his head, but those are cool ideas. I like them. Don't worry.
For what it's worth, I think the don't fight each other is a big one. I think that
yeah,
one actually makes.
that's the best one. Yeah,
I think the item trading might lead to a bit too much of, oh look, you got all the items you needed for your perfect build. So,
yeah.
but anyway, let's not debate design here. Let's just congratulate Agon.gg for their big win. Really impressive stuff. So
Thanks for the
nice job.
host.
Indeed. All
Thanks,
right.
Mort.
Any last shout outs before we let you go here?
Shout out to Agon once again for carrying, and shout out to Agon.gg. Get your plushie here.
There you go. All right. Well,
Alright.
thanks for joining us, Souless. Congratulations to you and the rest of Agon.gg for your victory in Mortdog's 4v4 madness. And I'm sure we'll talk to you on another post match interview at some point in the future soon.
Thanks, DoA. Thanks, Mort. I'm out.
Congratulations.
Have a good one. He's out.
too.
Soulless out of the call. There we go. So, wow, that was an exciting end. We thought maybe it'd be about 5 games, and that's what we got. It did end up being fairly close. If Khroen and the rest of the group were able to win that last game, we would have seen one more winner takes all game. But that was fun. That was a satisfying end to a cool tournament.
Hi, I'm back. Shout out to Eddie and GVA too. My bad, my bad.
Gotta make sure you mention everybody. He's gone again. All right.
Oh, that's so fun. So fun. No, that was a lot of fun. And I will say, I'm a little biased since I helped set this up, but it's really nice to see the positive reaction from all the players. Even the players who went like 31st or 32nd seem to have a good time. From the viewing experience, I'm seeing a lot of good feedback. So this is really cool to see, and maybe this is the future of something else. And shout outs to giantslayer, because they were actually the first ones to do this 4v4 format as well. They did this in an EU tournament a while back. And that had some really good reception, so I kind of piggybacked off that a bit. And giantslayer has just been a great partner for running these things, these Mortdog madnesses. So it's been a lot of fun.
Absolutely, and it's been really cool to see the scene kind of develop in this way. That like it's a scene that's so open to testing different things and trying different tournament formats, and everybody's just kind of enjoying it and understands that sometimes it's going to be weird and funky, sometimes it's going to be awesome, and we're going to figure out eventually what we all like to do together. So as a longtime like esports community member, it's cool to see people like you, Mort, from the developer side, just being very like active in the esports side of things and very interactive in terms of like supporting it, but also being willing to experiment and try a bunch of stuff. That's very cool too. And I think I speak for the community as well when I say thanks for being involved in TFT esports like that.
Yeah, of course. Like I said, it kind of reminds me of like the Smash Brothers scene, for example, where it's like a little bit grassroots. Everyone's trying to figure out the rule set. But I think we all have the same goal here, which is create a scene, have some fun, compete with our favorite game. And, obviously as the developer, all of us at Riot want to see TFT succeed. So this is just really cool to see. So,
well, I think it's off to a very good start. So I don't think you'll have a whole lot to worry about there. But that, I think, shout out as well, again, to Matcherino, our sponsor for this tournament, helping fans boost the prize pool a little bit to give our players a little bit more money to do what they love, which is pretty awesome. So thanks to them for sponsoring. Thanks again to giantslayer and Wisdom for putting on this tournament. And that's going to about do it. Mortdog's 4v4 Madness, the second second instance of madness from the mind of Mortdog. Very successful, a really fun time, and can't wait for the next one. Thank you to everybody out there who watched. Thanks for the players for participating, and I guess we'll see you on the next one.
Take it easy, everybody.